Good evening, and welcome to the latest happenings inside our federal machine.
And it is Friday, the 13th in February 2026. It's Faith On with tonight's episode of The Swamp. The Save America Act passed the House this week and has taken center stage in the Senate. We have a bombshell update on the progress of the SAVE Act as the chance of passage begins to look more realistic. President Trump chimes in, indicating he may sign an executive order requiring voter ID in all 50 states. And the Senate failed to secure enough votes to continue funding the Department of Homeland Security, which means that paychecks won't be issued for the Coast Guard or TSA or Secret Service, among other agencies. The partial shutdown is expected to last at least a week or more. President Trump spoke to a gaggle of reporters outside the White House today, answering questions regarding inflation, DHS funding, and matters over Iraq, Iran, and Venezuela, as well as the Russia-Ukraine war. The Department of Justice announced today that Harvard has failed to disclose demographic admissions data that the DOJ requires to ensure discrimination is no longer an ongoing issue. Governor Tim Walz demands the federal government pays for property that was destroyed by leftist rioters. That's hilarious. Also, a woman was caught on camera setting fire to a Kansas City warehouse that is planned to be converted into an ICE detention facility. And Nick Shirley released a video of him speaking to immigrants in a tent city within Los Angeles. And also, Puerto Rico Governor Jennifer Gonzalez signs a bill into law recognizing unborn babies as human beings. And there's a lot more that happened today, so we're going to dive straight in. And if you enjoyed the video, please give the video a quick like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the daily updates in the swamp. And if you leave a comment below, I might just read it on tomorrow's episode. And every article you'll see in the video will be linked in the description below. Just a quick comment on my microphone. Hopefully it's working okay. I made some big adjustments to my microphone. I think there's still some static happening behind my voice. It's been a huge pain in the ass, like going all the way back to the beginning of this show. Like I said earlier this week or late last week, I've thrown the kitchen sink at my mic issues. I've done everything, at least everything as far as I know. But I'm working on it. It's a work in progress. It's Friday. I've got the whole weekend ahead of me, so I'm going to try to tweak it as best as I possibly can. I just simply ran out of time tonight. I did all the tweaks that I possibly could do with the microphone. So hopefully it's not too crazy. Hopefully it's not too loud. Hopefully it's not like staticky. If it is, I greatly apologize. I will do all the tweaks that I need to do this weekend to try to make it as good as humanly possible. So, all right, we're going to start right here with Eric Daugherty breaking. Patriots are lighting up the phone lines of these 4 GOP senators after the Save America Act is up to 49 co-sponsors. We want more than 50 to ensure swift passage after a standing filibuster. Lisa Murkowski, and of course he includes phone numbers. I don't read phone numbers, but if you're looking at this on the screen, you can see them on the screen. So if you happen to live in either Alaska or Kentucky or Maine or North Carolina, I definitely recommend you giving your senators a call and letting them know that you want the SAVE Act to be passed. You can also reach them by email. You can go to their government website. Every senator has one. Every member of Congress has one, and you can reach out to them by email. But of course, giving them a call, leaving them a voice message. If they get inundated with voice calls, that definitely, it certainly leaves a dent in it, as well as email. I mean, you can't kick email out. I mean, that's definitely going to leave a lasting impact, hopefully, with regard to swaying their vote. I assume that you have to be living in these states in order to make any meaningful impact, although I'm sure there's going to be a ton of people who are going to be calling them from out of state. And they'll probably just simply say that they're not in state. They'll probably just omit those details. So anyway, up to 49. However, I've got bombshell information that's coming. So let's see what we got next here. And from DC Drano, 49 down, 1 to go. Mitch McConnell and Tom Tillis will likely go down with the Rhino sinking ship like the cowards they are. Murkowski and Collins should do the right thing. From Eric Daugherty, which we already read. And we're going to go to the next one, is the big breaking one. This one. Not just yet. We got one more from Eric Daugherty breaking. Many conservatives are now asking Democrat Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman to vote for the Save America Act, enshrining voter ID and citizenship to vote nationwide. Fetterman is one of the last Democrats left with an ounce of common sense, and he can be reached at his D.C. office at that number. I mean, look, I would recommend if you live in Pennsylvania, definitely just call them. But if you're not in Pennsylvania, not so sure if it's really going to do much. Like I said, there's going to be probably a ton of people calling all of these senators, whether if they're in that state, whether if you're a constituent of John Fetterman or not. But anyway, jump ship Fetterman. This is an 85-15 issue, 100%. Well, not literally 100%, but it's 100% an 85-15 issue. As the vast majority of Americans, even Democrats, 71% of Democrats, according to Pew Research, said that they prefer voter ID. All right, so we've got this, though. This is the bombshell from Eric Doherty just in. Now that we have 50 Senate votes for the Save America Act, Vice President J.D. Vance can swoop in and break the tie, enshrining voter ID and citizenship into our laws. All we need to do is have Senator John Thune force Democrats to a standing filibuster and outlast them for hours. I don't know, man. Do you think that Republicans really have what it takes? They seem to be pretty low energy when it comes to just about everything. I'm just not so sure. I don't know if they'll be able to win the filibuster against Democrats. I think Democrats have a lot of evil energy behind them, which serves as a lot of motivation for them to probably stand at the podium and piss themselves for like 24 straight hours, nonstop talking until they can win this debate. I don't know. But I think that Republicans better try their asses off because the future of our country is on the line here. Make them debate against the 85-15 issue of voter ID on the Senate floor. Make the mainstream media cover it. Flood the airwaves. Democrats oppose voter ID. And that's another very good point. If they televise it, of course, it's not going to be national. Well, you know what? Actually, it might actually be nationally televised through CNN, MSNBC, DNC, and the other left-wing mainstream news networks. They probably will televise it because it's such a huge issue right now. And Democrats, they're pushing back so heavily against it. It would definitely make for some fireworks. I don't know if they'll cover it nonstop. They'll probably chime in from time to time, probably leave it at the bottom of the screen in that little square that they sometimes tend to do. All right, so finishing up with this, the political pain will grow so much, Democrats will lose, and we can pass with 50 votes plus J.D. Vance. Thank you, Susan Collins, for joining as the 50th, and you heard that right. Let's get down to the next one from Eric Doherty again, just in. Okay, hold on, I already did that one, didn't I? Let's see. Yeah. Okay, all right. This is what was screwing me up. We got a video here.
Change your vote. If not, on this vote, the yeas are 50 and the nays are 50. The Senate being equally divided, the Vice President votes in the affirmative, and the motion is agreed to.
Hell yeah. The yeas are at 50, the nays are at 50. And of course, J.D. Vance is the tie-breaking vote, and that is the motion to discharge the Committees on Appropriations and Budget of H.R. 4, the Rescissions Act of 2025. Look, this was just 3 hours ago. I'm no Senate expert. I'm assuming that's a direct vote with regard to the SAVE Act. I mean, look, they haven't passed it, of course. It just looks like that this is just the latest vote. And of course, J.D. Vance, whenever he votes, he's just the tie-breaking vote when it's 50-50 like that. 3 hours ago. So here we go. Breaking. Senator Susan Collins, Republican of Maine, is a yes on the Save America Act. A huge victory. We are now at 50 guaranteed votes with J.D. Vance. That's enough to pass it after taking or doing a talking filibuster. Collins was previously unsure. This is massive. Get it done. Save the Republic. Huge news. So let's take a look at this.
Now that the Save America Act has passed the House, can we count on you to support it in the Senate?
I'm looking at it. The House made some significant changes. For example, you would not have to prove citizenship every time you vote. That's a good change.
You would not have to prove citizenship every time you vote. I don't know why that would be a good change. I don't really understand that. I think each and every single freaking time you go and you vote, you've got to bring ID. It's not just a one time and you don't have to show it for the next 5 years. That's bullshit. I don't know if that's what she's talking about.
The first time when you register, but not every time.
Why?
I've long supported voter ID. There's some issues on what are federal and what are state. So I'm still this is a work in progress, but I've got to go to the health committee.
Thank you.
Oh, good grief, lady. Like, that's what the federal government is for. And this should be a federal issue. It absolutely should. I understand the 10th Amendment. Everything, is handled by the state if it's not already up on the federal level. But this really needs to be a federal issue when it comes to our national elections. I mean, it's our national elections, for crying out loud. So it's regardless of what her stance is by showing ID initially and then not having to show it for the next X amount of years, I think that is retarded. I think every time you go and vote, you should present your ID, just for a number of reasons. I mean, fraud being the number one reason. You know, somebody could stand in your place and vote. Maybe somebody can go in there and vote on your behalf without even you knowing about it. And if you don't have an ID to present, how do they know that's really you? I get it, like signature matching and whatever, but you know, I don't think that's good enough. I mean, people who are poll workers, they're not signature experts, and they're most likely, especially if it's a long line, if it's really busy, especially a presidential election, are they really going to sit there and stare and compare, look back and forth, making sure your signature is perfect? Probably not. But anyway, so regardless, she is a yes, which is excellent news right now. Major breaking: Susan Collins is now back to the Save America Act, meaning Republicans now have 51 votes in the Senate, including J.D. Vance. Let's go. Time to finally nuke the zombie filibuster and get this to Trump's desk. Amen. So how does Susan Collins, representing Maine, which voted for Harris in 2024, support the Save America Act before Lisa Murkowski, who represents Trump in plus 13 Alaska? Make that make sense. Come aboard, Lisa Murkowski. Also, Senator McConnell and Tillis have no excuse. They certainly don't have any excuse. They're both Republicans. Why wouldn't they be voting for this? I mean, it's something that like well over 90, I think it was like, 95%, maybe it was 96%. I'm trying to look back to the Pew Research numbers for the Republicans. It was in the mid 90 percentile range for Republican support with voter ID. And that is a very important issue. I really hope that this happens, man. So this is another one from Eric. Breaking: Senator Mike Lee announces the next move to pass the Save America Act is for Leader Thune to invoke the standing filibuster, existing Senate rules that can let us pass it with 50 plus votes. We have enough votes to proceed with Susan Collins. Time for the real fight. We now need to convince Senate Republicans to ditch the zombie filibuster and enforce the talking filibuster on this bill. I don't know why they wouldn't do that. Why would he say, no, I don't think it's a good idea right now? I would love to hear his excuse if he's not for the standing filibuster. Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, well, would it have to be John Thune himself who would have to stand there at the podium for hours and hours and hours on end? Or could it be any senator? I thought it could be any senator could take the podium and just talk his ass off for days on end. I mean, not literally days, but for as long as humanly possible. So let's hear what he has to say.
I'm getting a lot of questions.
Senator
What's
Mike
next
Lee,
now that
base
we've got
Mike Lee?
enough votes to get past a motion to proceed to the House-passed version of the Save America Act? We've got to put all of our efforts. I encourage everyone who will listen to the Senate needs to invoke the talking filibuster, to enforce the talking filibuster. If senators want to debate this, if they want to filibuster it, make them work for it. Make them stand up, make them speak. If we do it this way, we can continue this progress, and I think we can get this thing done. Look, there are no guarantees here, but the only shot we've got at this is through the talking filibuster. Thanks for fighting. Keep going. We'll get it done.
Yeah, because they're just not going to get 60 votes. They're just not going to get enough Democrats to get on board with this, regardless of the majority of their constituents in every state being for voter ID, not against voter ID. And by the way, quick comment on Senator Mike Lee. He is the only senator that I've seen with all my time covering the swamp on the X platform. He is the only one that I've seen that actually engages with comments in his posts. Whenever he makes a post, sometimes they tend to be kind of late at night where I've seen him. And I've actually seen him banter, like argue back and forth with people in the comment section before on his profile. Very interesting. All right, Eric Daugherty breaking: Secretary Scott Bessent just demanded the Senate GOP nuke the 60-vote filibuster for the Save America Act and perfectly explained why. So let's hear his explanation. It's better than just reading what he's already going to say. So
Joe,
let's
the
hear
president couldn't have been more clear. I couldn't have been more clear. A couple months ago, I had an editorial in the Wall Street Journal just saying we got to get rid of the filibuster. You know, the in game theory, the best known game is the prisoner's dilemma, and it's like who moves first. And if you have bad actors in the prisoner's dilemma, which the Democrats are, then you should move first. Like, you know, it's kind of kill or be killed. And clearly that Joe Manchin, Kristen Sinema, the Democrats basically had nuked the filibuster, but they refused to go along with it. And guess where they are? They're both sitting at home now, hopefully watching your show. And you know, I think the Republicans need to be smart about this, and I think that maybe the filibuster doesn't get withdrawn for everything, but there are things that we've got to do, like voter integrity, and we've got to keep the government open. I mean, look, we are on the verge of another government shutdown, and the Democrats think this is the way to hurt President Trump, but they're willing to hurt the American people. We had the biggest, or the longest shutdown in history. The economy still did great because all the initiatives we put forward, but I think that we have to get on with the people's business, and if the Democrats shut the economy down again, it is a sign that they are bad actors. They don't care about the American people, and we ought to move forward, not let the government shut down, have voter integrity, and many other of our signature issues.
All right. So there you go, Secretary Scott Bessent. I mean, I think he explained it pretty well. So, all right. Hopefully, see, I hope my mic is working okay and it doesn't sound bad. The levels are kind of all over the place. The main reason for the background music, by the way, is to help mask the annoying static that accompanies my voice. And if you know OBS, I've already spent hours working all of the available filters, the noise gate, the compression, and all of that, and it doesn't work. It doesn't take away that staticky noise. There's something else that I need to work on. So I don't know if it might have to be a new mixer. I'm not really sure. It's not the microphone. I've already switched out the microphone. I even switched out my entire computer. I even got a brand new computer to try to combat this issue, but anyway, again, I got the weekend. I just hope it sounds okay. I don't know. I just got a bad feeling. All right, so anyway, Homeland Security. Watch Secretary Noem host a press conference on election integrity from Scottsdale, Arizona. This is going to be a long one, so I'm just going to get her opener. And let's see where it's at. All right, here we go. She's walking in. Hey, man, good timing. It looks very quiet. Oh, there is no sound. Secretary Noem, you have no sound. I was going to say, it's not me.
Perfect.
There
we go. That'll work
Holy
better.
shit. Holy shit.
Well, good morning.
Loud.
Thank you all for being here again. I'm Kristi Noem, the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security.
Yes,
I've had the opportunity today to spend some time with some of your elected officials, some of those that are involved in election security here, and local leaders to discuss
she's
what
in
we
Arizona,
can do to
right?
make sure that we have
I think she said she's
integrity
in
our
Arizona.
election systems going forward. I want to thank some of them
Scottsdale.
that came today. Justin Heap is here. He's the recorder of Maricopa County. I want to thank him for sharing some wisdom with me on what we can do to partner together. Also, State Representative John Gillette of the 30th District is here too, and I want to thank him for all of the information that he shared with me. Jennifer Wright is the former Assistant Arizona Attorney General for the Elections Unit, and she's here as well and shared her wisdom and work over the years to make sure that when people go to vote in an election that they can trust that that vote counted and that they had the chance to cast their support behind the candidate that they wanted to. You know, at the end of the Constitutional Convention in 1787, Benjamin Franklin was asked out on the street by a woman what kind of a government that we would have. And he replied to her, "A republic, ma'am, if you can keep it." And that's what our job is. For 250 years, it's been our American duty to maintain our republic and to make sure that our elections are secure. Republics depend on the confidence of their citizens, that when they vote, that their vote matters, that it counts. And our elections are essential to make sure that that confidence stays there, that they know and trust that the system is fair. Since returning to office, President Trump has made election integrity a priority. He's made it a cornerstone of his Make America Great Again agenda. And the truth is that our election system needs a lot of work. From state to state throughout the country, we see challenges and things that can be improved on. And although the Constitution gives states the primary responsibility for running their elections, Congress also gives authorities and duties to the federal government. Now, as the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, those authorities lie within my department, and the responsibility lies with me. I have the responsibility of not just pointing out different vulnerabilities that we may see in our election systems, but also with making sure that we're putting forward mitigation measures that can be enacted at the state and local level to make sure that our elections are run correctly, that the votes are counted and tabulated, and that the people that were elected are put into those positions. As President Trump said, we will either fix our nation's election issues or we will no longer have a nation to save. Right now, America has a golden opportunity, a wonderful opportunity to show that we are serious about securing our elections and that we care about making sure that we preserve our sacred republic. Earlier this week, the House of Representatives passed the SAVE Act. This is federal legislation that does some common sense, straightforward things. First of all, it requires a photo ID in order to vote in federal elections. It also requires proof of citizenship in order to register to vote. And it requires states to remove non-citizens from their voter rolls. These measures are extremely popular with American citizens.
Yeah, it's basic
American
common
people
sense.
have common sense, and they want to see reforms like this put into their elections. In fact, a Gallup poll was recently released that shows 84% of Americans support a photo ID when they go to vote, that 83% support proving your citizenship when you go to register to vote. A Pew Research poll showed that 95% of Republicans
there you go,
and
95.
71% of Democrats
and 71%
agree
of Democrats
with voter ID. There's a reason why more than 80% of Americans support these measures, and that's because they work, and they're common sense, and they build trust into the system. It's common sense that our elections should belong to the American people, that they should be the ones who get to vote, whose votes are counted, that they get one vote, not more, not less. It's common sense to make sure that foreign nationals don't vote in our elections, don't elect our leaders, and have a say in how our country runs. They don't and should not be allowed to be trampling on the voice of the American people, and will no longer allow American citizens to be disenfranchised, to have their voices suppressed by criminals, by hostile foreign actors, and by illegal aliens that shouldn't be here in this country. It's a fact that non-citizens have been voting in our elections. They've been registered and they have voted from state to state. For example, one of the most recent individuals that we've talked about is Ian Andre Roberts. He was an illegal alien from Guyana that was arrested by ICE while serving in Des Moines, Iowa as the school district superintendent. Perhaps you remember hearing about that arrest. Despite him being here illegally in this country, he was registered to vote in Maryland. He had a long rap sheet also of criminal charges, including narcotics possession, second and third degree possession of a weapon, and criminal possession of a forgery instrument. In Coldwater, Kansas, we had an illegal alien that was able to vote and was even elected as a mayor. He was charged by the Kansas Attorney General last fall for voting without being qualified and to election perjury charges thanks to assistance from the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services Agency. As it stands, current guidelines for the National Voter Registration Act effectively stop states from going forward and checking citizenship during registration. The Save America Act would fix this. It would make sure that we close those loopholes and that we ensure in American elections only Americans vote.
Well, look, and I just looked this up the other day. When was this? On Tuesday, I think. I looked up the states where no ID at all is required. You just show up and they just give you a ballot. And that's in virtually every blue state. You name it. It's in all of those states. They don't require any ID of any kind to go in there and vote. It's absolutely insane.
Critics assert that the Save America Act will somehow hurt American voters. That's just absurd and absolutely not true.
No, the one thing that Democrats are grandstanding on is that there's women out there who haven't changed their last name on their birth certificate, and that's going to require proof for them to obtain a valid ID in order to vote. And even if that is the case, that's just one of those very short list of checklist items that you check off when you go and you get married. You have to change your birth certificate to reflect your new last name. I just think it's absurd. It's ridiculous. I don't know if it's illegal. Look, it's probably harder to get other things accomplished, like for employment or other things like that. You know, if your birth certificate is required and you've already legally changed your last name after you get married. So I just think it's a ridiculous excuse. Change your friggin' birth certificate. It's just part of the process. It's what you got to do when you get married.
One of the claims that they have made in criticizing this bill is that they say that newly married women would be disenfranchised because they've had a name change. Well, there's many women out there, including myself, who've been married and changed our names when we re-registered to vote. And likewise, the idea that this bill would make it impossible for U.S. service members to vote if they're deployed overseas, well, that's completely false as well. For all of those procedures that are in place today continue to stay that way after this act is passed and signed into law. They also say that this act requires voters to have a U.S. passport to register.
Well, wait, hold on. I don't know if she's going to clear up all those things that she's listing off, but I'd like to hear what her stance is on the birth certificate, because maybe they've added something in there that, like, even if you haven't changed your last name on your birth certificate, even if it's still your maiden name, I don't see how that would be any requirement anyway. Even if it reflects your maiden name, you're still the same person. If anything, your maiden name would probably be even more legit than the name that you've recently changed, because like your historical records go back to your maiden name anyway. So, yeah. So, and then also the passport is a ridiculous thing. I've heard a few Democrats talking about that, like the majority of Americans don't have a passport, which no, I don't have one. I've never needed one. But that's also completely untrue. Like the one thing that they say that I noticed that could potentially get in the way of you getting your voter ID would be the whole name change on their birth certificate, which I don't think that's got any real standing anyway.
That's not true. There's multiple options that are given to provide proof of citizenship, including military ID, government ID, photo ID with a proof of birth and location. In fact, if an individual...
Well, and also the quote-unquote real ID, which I just looked up yesterday on the Swamp. I wasn't familiar with it. Apparently, well, not apparently, it was passed in 2005 into federal law that all 50 states with your driver's license or a government-issued photo ID, it has to be a quote-unquote real ID. And how you can tell if you have one of these federal government-approved real IDs as your driver's license is if you look at the top right-hand corner, there's a gold star there. If you have a gold star in the top right corner of your ID, then you have a real ID that has been verified by the federal government. And at least the gold star, it's in the top right-hand corner of Florida driver's licenses. And I've noticed it on my driver's license as long as I can remember. So at least my state has followed that probably since the year it was passed. So as far as that goes, having that real form of ID, real ID, that would suffice in and of itself.
Has no documentation. They have the option of appearing at an election office and providing an affidavit stating that they are.
By the way, 92% of American adults have a driver's license.
Now, another ridiculous conspiracy theory that we've heard is that the federal government will remove people from state voter rolls. Well, that's just simply not true.
Well, they will. They'll remove illegal immigrants
election officials
and dead people.
Do the registration, and they maintain these lists going forward. We just help them do their job and make sure that they're doing it correctly. Each of the arguments that have been laid out to criticize this bill are baseless speculation from the radical left because they want illegal aliens to vote in our elections.
And dead people.
They want to disenfranchise
and double,
American
triple
citizens
voters
by telling them that their votes don't matter. There's only one reason that anyone would oppose this bill, and that's because they would want to cheat. They want illegal people and aliens in this country to be able to vote for them and to rob the United States citizens of their vote. And that's why they resist us at every single level when we're trying to deport people back to their home countries or stop them from committing crimes against the American people. That's why they do not support voter ID, proof of U.S. citizenship, or clean voter rolls. That's why the Save America Act
they don't want to lose their power.
Absolutely critical
and they know
to
they
our
will.
Country's future. Because without secure elections, we lose what makes...
That's why I think Republicans, if they do the standing filibuster, I think Republicans are going to have a real uphill battle because Democrats know damn well like how wildly this is going to affect them back in their home state, and they're going to be literally fighting for their political career. Not all of them, but I'm sure there's going to be at least a handful of Democrats in the Senate that probably would not be elected next term for them if this were to pass, because again, they're going to remove the illegal immigrants. They're going to remove the dead people, the people who are voting 2, 3, 4 freaking times because they've changed their addresses and they haven't removed their old addresses from the voter rolls.
Our country's so great. And then when we lose that, we lose our country altogether. Almost 200 years ago in 1833, a Supreme Court Justice Joseph Story warned us with this. And he warned us this about illegal entry into our country. If aliens might be admitted indiscriminately to enjoy all of the rights of citizens at the will of a single state, the Union itself might be endangered by an influx of foreigners, hostile to its institutions, ignorant of its powers, and incapable of a due estimate of its privileges.
Thanks to the Biden administration.
There is no room in our election system for people that aren't Americans. There is no room in our election system for fraudsters and foreign influence. The Declaration of Independence said this simple, self-evident truth, that governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed. Fair and secure elections are how we measure the consent of the governed, and they ensure that our American citizens' voices are heard. Our founders, at the time of the creation of this country, pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor to defend our freedoms. In fact, the Continental Army went for years without being paid, and they braved through the brittle winter
learning all about that.
Valley Forge as well. They did all of this because they wanted to ensure
and they
that
were on
their
the verge
people,
of starving,
their families, and that their descendants could continue to live freely and could govern freely. If we don't uphold this bedrock principle of representative government, then our nation's choices will be decided by illegal aliens, by criminals, by foreign actors, and people that don't support America being the greatest country in the world.
Yeah, you know, it's bad enough that we've got low IQ morons that are voting in our election system. I mean, that in and of itself is bad enough. So I'll go ahead and repost this. There's a direct link to my profile in the description, and you can check it out there. Just simply click on that link. It'll take you directly to my profile. And if you're watching this like within 24 hours after I've uploaded this video, it should be up near the top of the profile. Or you can just go to the X platform and you can search for DHS.gov and it'll take you there too. This was posted at 1:09 p.m. today, Friday the 13th. And of course, there's the search button. It's different on mobile. Like if you go to it on like your web browser, there's still going to be a search button. I mean, it's right there in plain view. It's pretty easy to find it. So, all right. But anyway, whether if it's a blue state or a red state, I mean, I don't care if they even vote plus 20 Democrat, as long as the voting system is 100% legit and people aren't double voting, triple voting, illegal immigrants aren't voting, dead people aren't voting, people who are not registered aren't voting. And some would argue that we need to pass a basic civics test in order to vote, or even an IQ test. I've heard that one. And of course, there's the argument that if you own property, then you should have the right to vote. And if you don't, then you shouldn't vote or even serve the country. You know, what is that? Service guaranteed citizenship, like in Starship Troopers or Starship Troopers. But anyway, there's a number of good ideas out there. No doubt about that. But I don't think any of those are going to happen anytime soon. But at the very least, fair elections, that's not asking too much. All right, from the Republican Study Committee, Rep. Anna Paulina Luna. She's my rep. I voted for her. She is right. The Democrats' only strategy is chaos and cheating. That's why they oppose common sense election integrity reforms and push policies that put Americans last and illegal aliens first. The Save America Act is one of the most crucial pieces of legislation in our lifetime. The American people are counting on us to get this to President Trump's desk. Let's get it done.
Representative Jim McGovern, who's like, you only want to pass the SAVE Act because you all want to cheat. That's what it is.
You know, I actually, I call that type of mentality and that perspective blue anon. It's this like crazy conspiracy theory that we're trying to steal the midterms. And that's what they're trying to say. They're trying to say that Trump is doing this because he wants to take over and just like this really ooga booga perspective. But, you know, I say, well, let's play into that mentality and mindset for a second, because even if you're afraid of that, what do you want? Voter ID. And I mean, you come back at them with that and then they're like, you know, and then they pull out their invisible box. It's like, you know, racist. And then when you talk about the racist aspect, well, you know, it's Jim Crow era laws is what they say. Chuck Schumer said that I was literally pushing Jim Crow era laws.
The Democrats are Jim Crow.
Force this through the Senate. And it was funny because the Democrat Party, if you know history, championed the Jim Crow era laws. Barack Obama was handing out his
and the Ku Klux Klan and slavery.
So are you
That's
saying
all
that
Democrats.
Barack Obama is then pushing Jim Crow era laws?
Some
I don't
things never
think so.
change.
So
these days, Democrats, they shackle your mind.
What they don't want is
because they can't physically enslave you.
Over 73% of, I think it's 73% of Democrats want voter ID. Over 80% of Americans across the board want voter ID. Is like the most bipartisan thing, I think, from banning insider trading. That's something else that I'm also championing right now.
Okay, so that's all we got from that. It's just a quick clip. And again, the Republican Study Committee, I'm not familiar with this interview podcast, or that might have been on Florida's Voice. I haven't seen it before. I've heard of Florida's Voice, but I don't know, like the guy who was hosting it. I'm not familiar. But anyway, so that happened today. Breaking 911 from 3 hours ago. This is President Trump chiming in on the Save America Act. And he says, we cannot let the Democrats get away with no voter ID any longer. These are horrible, disingenuous cheaters. They have all sorts of reasons why it shouldn't be passed, and then boldly laugh in the back rooms after their ridiculous presentations. If it weren't such a serious matter, it would be considered a total joke. No voter ID is even crazier and more ridiculous than men playing in women's sports, open borders, or transgender for everyone. Republicans must put this at the top of every speech It is a can't miss for re-election in the midterms and beyond. Even Democrat voters agree. 85%, well, it depends on the poll that you're looking at. Again, Pew Research had it at 71% for Democrats, that there should be voter ID. It's only the political, quote-unquote, leaders, crooked leaders like Schumer and Jeffries that have no shame and explain why it's, quote-unquote, racist and every other thing that they can think of. This is an issue that must be fought and must be fought now. If we can't get it through Congress, there are legal reasons why this scam is not permitted. I will be presenting them shortly in the form of an executive order. I hope the Supreme Court realizes, as they painstakingly review the very simple topic of country-saving tariffs, those same tariffs that have been used by other countries against the USA to drain it of its treasure and security for many years, and all sorts of other things that are making our country rich, powerful, and safe again, that these corrupt and deranged Democrats, if they ever gain power, will not only be adding 2 states to our roster of 50 with all the baggage there too, but will also pack the court with a total of 21 Supreme Court justices, their dream, which they will submit easily and rapidly when they immediately move to terminate the filibuster, probably in their first week or sooner. Our country will never be the same if they allow these demented and evil people to knowingly and happily destroy it. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Save America, President Donald J. Trump. And yeah, I mean, he's making those points repeatedly, day after day. And they're good points to be made because that's exactly what Democrats are going to do if they get the Senate back. The only two that they had Kristen Sinema and they had Joe Manchin. Those were the 2 Democrats that were against nuking the filibuster when Democrats had power in the Senate last time. And they're not there anymore. So assuming they're going to do that. They're going to do just that. They're going to nuke the filibuster the next time that they get power back in the Senate. And we all know that the political pendulum, it swings this way and swings that way. And whenever there's a midterm election during a presidential term, it's usually the party that is currently in power. They tend to lose that power like 85% of the time during a midterm election. So it's definitely statistically favored that Democrats will take over the Senate again. So, I mean, that's definitely some food for thought for the sitting senators right now. Maybe give that filibuster some consideration, nuking it. All right, rapid response 47, the president on the CPI report. So this is when he spoke to the gaggle of reporters out at the White House today. And so he says the inflation numbers that just announced, as you know, are way down and we have it back on track. We had the worst in the history of our country, and now we have very modest inflation, which is what you want to have. Look, to be fair, I don't think it was the worst inflation we've ever had in the country. I believe that the 1970s was worse than what we experienced during the fallout after COVID, going into the Biden administration. Even though I think overall, didn't it top out at like 9.2%, our inflation rate under Biden? I can't remember the number in the 70s, but I'm pretty sure it was double digits for a period of time, which that was under Jimmy Carter, I think, right? Democrat. Hello. All right, let's get this.
Good financial numbers, very low inflation. We brought costs way down, and the numbers were surprising, except me, they weren't surprising. So the inflation numbers just announced, as you know, are way down, and we have it back in track. We had the worst inflation in the history of our country, and now we have very modest inflation, which is what you want to have.
You know what? I've said this before. I think Trump, I think that he speaks to the reporters while the helicopter is in full power. I think he does that on purpose. I think it's like his way of like trolling the mainstream media because like it's hard for them to hear him speak. And he knows that the microphone's going to pick up on what he's saying, even though sometimes he's yelling. But most of the time he's not like yelling too loud because he's got the microphones close enough. But I don't know. I just think that he does that on purpose. Like he just makes them gather outside right out in front of the helicopter. Because like during his first term, he would stand out there and talk to him for like a full hour with the helicopter just whirling the entire time. It's hilarious. All right, so we got another one, government funding. We will always have to protect our law enforcement. It's very important. They've done a great job. Remember, they've taken out hundreds of thousands of criminals out of our country.
Are you anticipating cutting a deal with Democrats to end the potential shutdown for DHS?
We'll see what happens. We always have to protect our law enforcement. It's very important. They've done a great job. Remember, they've taken out hundreds of thousands of criminals out of our country.
Hundreds of thousands of criminals and many more to go. And we got another one, DHS.gov. If you look at what they've done, we've had the safest border in the history of our country.
You have to remember, if you look at Homeland Security, if you look at what they've done, if you look at what ICE has done at Border Patrol, we have the safest border in the history of our country. Nobody comes in other than if they come in legally. If you remember just a little while ago, a year and a half ago, for a 4-year period, They allowed 25 million people in our country. Many of these people are murderers and drug dealers. A horrible thing. We've gotten a lot of them out. We now have the best records in the history of our country on crime. It was just announced our crime numbers are the best in 125 years. So I am
probably
here
even longer.
to protect
That's just when they started keeping records.
And our great police and ICE and Border Patrol and everybody. I'm here to protect them because they're protecting us. And the job they've done is incredible.
Amen. Looks like they still got snow on the ground. That's actually surprising. I mean, I know they got a bad winter storm a few weeks ago. All right, so on Iraqi leadership, going to talk about Iraq.
Do you still have a veto on Nouri al-Maliki to become the Iraqi prime minister?
We're looking at a prime minister. We're going to see what's going to happen. We've got some ideas on it, but in the end, everybody needs the U.S. Everybody needs us.
Do you still have a veto on Nouri?
All right, well, that was a short one. And I think Iran is up next. Let's see. Yeah, the second aircraft carrier that you decided to send to the Middle East. Talk about why you made that choice. And he answers it.
The second aircraft carrier that you decided to send. Yeah. Talk about why you made that choice.
Well, in case we don't make a deal, we'll need it. If we don't have a deal, we'll need it. If we have a deal, we could cut it short. It'll be
well, that sounds ominous.
It'll be leaving very soon. We have one out there that just arrived. If we need it, we have it ready. A very big force.
I mean, I've always believed that if a war was to break out between the U.S. and Iran, that it would be a freaking bloodbath. That would be absolutely horrific. But on the other hand, it seems like their economy is completely decimated. The inflation rate in Iran over the last year has gone up like 150%, which is what triggered all the protests and the riots that happened weeks ago. What is that? Maybe a month ago at this point. It was recent. So for us to station a second aircraft carrier out there, man, that's not to say that it's like strictly speaking scary, but it definitely doesn't sound good. So anyway, if Iran doesn't make a deal, we're going to need that second aircraft carrier. I think we already heard that though. Yeah, okay, we already heard that. And so on Iran negotiations, I think they'll be successful, and if they're not, it's going to be a bad day for Iran. Very
How confident are you that our negotiations with Iran will be successful?
I think they'll be successful, and if they're not, it's going to be a bad day for Iran. Very bad.
All right, so just some quick short clips. This one's on Zelensky with Russia, so let's hear this one.
Well, Zelensky's going to have to get moving. Russia wants to make a deal, and Zelensky's going to have to get moving. Otherwise, he's going to miss a great opportunity. He has to move.
Look, frankly, I'm on Zelensky's side. Look, their country was invaded. It wasn't them invading Russia. So Zelensky pretty much, I don't know what their numbers, their casualties are looking like on the Ukrainian side. I read an article just the other day that Russia had lost over 300,000 soldiers, although that's not strictly confirmed. It's just what they believe. 1.3 million were either killed or wounded. At least that's the number that they're throwing out. So I don't know. Look, if Zelensky doesn't like the deal, he doesn't like the deal. I mean, it's like I said, it's his country getting invaded. So if he doesn't want to give up land, it's just the way it is, I guess. So we've got a very good relationship with the president of Venezuela. We have our big oil companies going in. So let's hear what he says on this.
We have a very good relationship with the president of Venezuela. As you know, we're working together very closely. We have our big oil companies going in. They're going to be taking out the oil and selling the oil for a lot of money, and Venezuela is going to get a big part of that money. And the relationship we have right now with Venezuela is, I would say, a 10.
Well, I would assume they would get pretty close to half of it, or if not a little bit over half. All right, breaking number one, are you considering land strikes on Mexico, Colombia, Venezuela? Don't worry about it.
Land strikes on Mexico, Colombia, and Venezuela.
What about it?
Land strikes, are you planning?
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. All right, so we got this from President Trump. He jokes that Abrams tanks are named in honor of Stacey Abrams. Still the best tank, right? In honor of Stacey Abrams. That's hilarious.
We're also purchasing 30 new and modified Abrams tanks. Still the best tank, right? Still? It was named in honor of Stacey Abrams. Only a few very political people would understand that. Congratulations. Thank you very much for a great name, Stacey. But brand new Abrams tanks, 48 new Black Hawk, Chinook, and King Stallion helicopters, the best in the world, the latest equipment, and 86 armored multi-purpose fighting vehicles. All of the things that you've been wanting to get, all brand new. And we're going to be reviving our strength. We're going to be
doing many other things that nobody thought was even.
Yeah, he's speaking at a military base, I believe. I think it was Fort Bragg, maybe, that he's speaking at. That's where he was heading to when he was talking to the reporters. All right, so let's move on. The U.S. Department of Justice, under President Trump's leadership, this Department of Justice is demanding better from our nation's educational institutions. Harvard has failed to disclose the data we need to ensure that its admissions are free of discrimination. We will continue fighting to put merit over DEI across America. This is going to be on Fox News. Trump DOJ files a new lawsuit accusing Harvard of withholding records on race in admissions. This is probably of no surprise to anybody. The U.S. Department of Justice announced that its Civil Rights Division launched a new lawsuit against Harvard University, alleging that the Ivy League institution illegally withheld admissions material needed to decide whether the school is continuing to discriminate in the admissions process despite a 2023 Supreme Court ruling. Under President Trump's leadership, the Department of Justice is demanding better from our nation's educational institutions, said AG Pam Bondi. Harvard has failed to disclose the data we need to ensure that its admissions are free of discrimination. We will continue fighting to put merit over DEI across America. Harvard pushed back in a statement provided to Fox on Friday. Harvard is committed to following the law, including civil rights laws in connection with admissions and financial aid. And Harvard has complied with and continues to comply with the law under the Students for Fair Admissions decision. Okay, well then turn over the records. I mean, if you got nothing to hide, what's the problem? Harvard has been responding to the government's inquiries in good faith and continues to be willing to engage with the government according to the process required by law, the statement continued. Well, then why are you getting sued by the Department of Justice then? The university will continue to defend itself against these retaliatory actions, which have been initiated simply because Harvard refused to surrender its independence or relinquish its constitutional rights in response to unlawful government overreach. Let's see. So the Justice Department explained that the lawsuit, which was filed on Thursday, alleges that Harvard repeatedly slow-walked the pace of production and refused to produce pertinent data and documents requested by the DOJ, including individualized applicant admissions data, admissions policies, and correspondence related to race, ethnicity, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and Students for Fair Admissions. The suit alleges that Harvard, a recipient of DOJ funding, violated Title VI by failing to comply with the DOJ's request for sufficient document production for compliance review, according to the DOJ. The suit also notes that by failing to make timely and complete document productions or otherwise permitting the DOJ to access Harvard's applicant-level admissions data, Harvard breached a material term of DOJ federal financial assistance. The suit aims to force the school to turn over documents pertaining to the consideration of race in admissions, but does not accuse Harvard of racial discrimination, according to the DOJ. So they're not accusing them of racial discrimination. They just want to verify. The Justice Department will not allow universities to flout our nation's federal civil rights laws by refusing to provide the information required for our review, said Assistant Attorney General for the DOJ Civil Rights Division, Harmeet Dillon, noted in a statement. Providing requested data is a basic expectation of any credible compliance process, and refusal to cooperate creates concerns about university practices. If Harvard has stopped discriminating, it should happily share the data necessary to prove it. In a 2023 ruling, the Supreme Court objected to Harvard's and the University of North Carolina's consideration of race in admissions. For the reasons provided above, the Harvard and UNC admissions programs cannot be reconciled with the guarantees of the Equal Protection Clause. Both programs lack sufficiently focused and measurable objectives, warranting the use of race, unavoidably employ race in a negative manner, involve racial stereotyping, and lack meaningful endpoints. We have never permitted admissions programs to work in that way, and we will not do so today, the opinion declared. Yeah, I don't think that's true at all. From what I've heard, not just Harvard, but MIT, if they stuck strictly by performance standards and SAT scores, ACT scores, if they stick to just performance and merit alone, apparently like 85-90% of their admissions would be Asians. I mean, that's what I read somewhere. I don't know if that's strictly speaking true, but I mean, apparently it is. I guess like if that is true, then Harvard just doesn't like that very much. All right, breaking 911. The U.S. Senate has voted 52-47 to reject a bill to fund the Department of Homeland Security, meaning a partial shutdown could begin by the end of the week unless a new agreement is reached. And we've got the clip here with the total votes getting tallied up. There's sound. It's just real quiet until they, bang the gavel or whatever it is that they do.
On this vote, the yeas are 52 and the nays are 47. 3/5 of the senators.
All right, well, there you go. 52 to 47. And that's the motion to invoke cloture on the motion to proceed to the consideration of H.R. 7147, the Consolidations and Appropriations Act. So it did not pass. And this is from U.S. Senator John Fetterman. Shutting DHS down has zero impact and zero changes for ICE. ICE already has $75 billion in funding from the BBB that I did not vote for, but it will hit FEMA, the Coast Guard, TSA, and our cybersecurity agency, and also not to mention the Secret Service. As a Democrat, I can't vote to shut down critical parts of our government. Let's take a look.
As a committed Democrat, I want the same changes that every other Democrat wants to make on ICE. But ICE already has $75 billion in funding from the big, beautiful bill that I did not vote for. So what it will impact is that we'll shut down important parts of DHS, whether that's FEMA, whether that's the Coast Guard, whether that is also about the CISA, the Cyber Security Agency in our nation. All of these are shut down. We want to find a way forward to produce those changes, but shutting the government down is the wrong way.
Yeah, he's been anti-government shutdown since, at least since the first government shutdown that happened back in the fall. And we've got another post from him from earlier today at 8:47 this morning. This shutdown literally has zero impact on ICE functionality. Country over party is refusing to hit the entire Department of Homeland Security. Democracy demands a way forward to reform ICE without damaging our critical national security agencies. Yeah, it's just too bad that none of his Democrat colleagues are listening to what he's saying. And from Barron Trump, I thought this was a pretty good post. Breaking, Chuck Schumer is bragging that he is shutting down TSA, FEMA, the Coast Guard, and cybersecurity at midnight. Quote, "This is a shot across the bow to Republicans. So, protecting airports, disaster response, maritime security, and cyber defense is now a bargaining chip. ICE is not even impacted. This is not about policy. It is about political blackmail. They are willing to freeze critical national security operations just to score points against President Trump. Americans do not want chaos. They want security. If Democrats want to weaponize the filibuster to cripple DHS, then end the games. Nuke it. Pass the funding. Move on. National security is not your toy." So let's take a watch.
So as you all know, from day one I've said unless there are really strong, meaningful reforms to rein in ICE and stop the violence, there will not be Democratic votes to fund ICE and extend the awful status quo that now exists.
Yeah, just like the Barron Trump account, which is a parody account, by the way. ICE has already been funded, and even Senator John Fetterman echoed that as well. ICE has been funded, I think, for like the next 3 years or something like that. They're funded for the foreseeable future.
Well, today Senate Democrats made
So in other words,
point
he's lying out his
absolutely
ass.
clear. For weeks, we've been pushing common sense reforms, the very types of things that local police and
Chuck
sheriffs
Schumer lacks
throughout
all
America
common sense. Can't even
routinely
grill a
follow.
freaking cheeseburger.
Today's strong vote was a shot across the bow to Republicans. Democrats will not support a blank check for chaos. This vote today
So Homeland Security is chaos. That's literally what he said.
Will you rein in ICE's abuses, or will you vote to extend the chaos? Republicans chose chaos, and the Democrats, we refused.
Wrong. Wrong.
Republicans chose
Liar.
to put a bill
Low
on the
IQ
floor
propaganda.
that ignored the abuses, ignored the outrage, ignored what the American people want overwhelmingly. And they failed to get the votes to avoid a shutdown.
76% of Americans are in
DHS.
favor of mass deportations.
As we've said for weeks, if Republicans want to keep DHS funded, they need to get serious. They need to sit down. They need to negotiate.
Look, man, Democrats already lost this fight with the first government shutdown. They got nothing out of it at all, except, 43 days of a shutdown, which pissed off a lot of people. And for them just to keep the Department of Homeland Security, quote unquote, shut down, they're still going to have to work. All of the essential personnel are still going to have to report to work. They're just not going to get paychecks. That's just going to piss off a lot of people. And I hope that Republicans don't cave. I don't think they're going to. I think that Democrats, just like the last shutdown, are demanding a bunch of non-starters. Like in the first shutdown, they were demanding $1.5 trillion for a bunch of DEI bullshit and climate change bullshit, which they didn't get. And also, they were trying to grandstand on the whole Obamacare subsidies, which they also didn't get. And they eventually had to cave and quietly reopen the government. And It's probably, if that were my guess, I think that's just going to end up happening again.
Negotiate in good faith. Produce legislation that actually reins in ICE and stops the violence. And I'm proud of my caucus.
It's
Senate
the leftists
Democrats
that are causing the
listened to
violence, which we
American
already know.
people and stood together with one clear, strong voice. Enough is enough. We listened to the American people and stood together with that clear voice. The American people.
I think they really believe that these radical leftists. I really think that these Democrats have convinced themselves to this point that is the vast majority of the Democrat Party. And I still, even within the Democrat Party, it's still significantly less than half of the Democratic Party. Probably maybe a quarter that might be these radical far leftists that engage in rioting. It's probably not even 25%. I mean, like they were bragging about up in Minnesota a couple of weeks ago, where they were having this big giant protest. 100,000 people came out and protested in sub-zero temperatures against ICE. Well, even still, like 100,000 people is a lot, but the metro area of Minneapolis is about 4 million people. So 100,000 people, that's like what, 2% of the entire population of Metro Minnesota or Minneapolis?
They're tired. They're tired of seeing these horrific videos. They turn your stomach. And 90% of Americans say they've seen them. The videos of Americans beaten, snatched off the streets, treated like they have no rights.
Obstruction.
These videos are reminiscent of what you see in dictatorships.
I just wish they would arrest more of them.
The Americans are tired of masked agents conducting warrantless operations in their communities.
No, they've all got warrants. They all have orders for removal signed by a judge.
They're tired of chaos,
nice try.
secrecy, and zero accountability. That is not what law and order looks like. And Republicans simply cannot pretend that this outrage does not exist. It's their responsibility now to step forward, heed the calls of the American people, and work with us to pass real reform. The path forward is simple.
I mean, this is what a political party looks like when they are significantly losing power and they are running scared.
And stop the violence.
Party in chaos.
Americans are watching what's happened in neighborhood after neighborhood across the country. They know it's wrong. They know it's excessive. And they want Congress, the Senate, to fix it. Senate Democrats showed up today for Americans. We did what they're asking. We did our job.
Shut up for illegal immigrants, you dumbass.
Now, Republicans have to do theirs. And as you know, we have asked for very simple objectives that is overwhelmingly supported by the American people.
Wrong.
And by a very big
abolish
chunk
ICE?
of Republicans. I've looked at the polling data. While the MAGA Republicans don't...
In the roving patrols. So in other words, eliminate ICE. Completely. Eliminate ICE. Enforce accountability. Well, that's a hell of a blanket statement. What the hell does that even mean? Masks off. Body cameras on. I thought Democrats were anti-body camera now. Are they flipping back over toward body cameras now? Because at first they said body cameras, and then there were a whole bunch of Democrats that came out and said, oh, wait a minute, like body cameras, that's not a good idea because, you know, that might infringe on all the protesters' Fourth Amendment rights, even though they're out in fucking public.
Support it. They must like what ICE is doing. Lord knows why.
Because we want illegal immigrants out of our country.
About 35-40% of Republicans support us. The public is crying out.
There's no way. If that were an actual real number, that 35% of Republicans support them, he would have had that all over that billboard, and he would have cited the source, which Democrats never do. They never cite sources. All right, so let's move on to Nick Sorter. Wow, Senator Eric Schmidt just spit fire on the Senate floor about deporting illegals. And then, of course, it's a quote, so we'll just hear him say the quote right
We're
here.
not going to make it harder for ICE to do their jobs. We're not doing it. And I will do everything in my power, and I know a lot of other folks on my side of the aisle will do it too, to prevent that from ever happening. Because the American people saw what a disaster it was to have Democrats in charge of this country.
Oh, yeah. We lived through it.
We had a secure
Democrats
border.
Don't seem to know that.
Joe Biden literally unsecured that border on day one.
Tens of millions.
And we had 15 million people come here illegally. We're not going back. The American people saw that. They voted for President Trump. He was very
popular
clear
majority.
about it. This wasn't a footnote in his
First
campaign.
time in 20 years.
This was a central
Republican
theme.
got the popular majority.
And you may not like it, But that's what our republic is about. For all the talk of saving democracy and sticking up for democracy I hear from the other side, it's all nonsense. If they actually believed that, they would respect the fact that the American people voted for this. They voted for deportations.
Yeah, and we still support him.
And I know that, like, in the woke left world, it's a dirty word. It's not where I come from. Not in Missouri. People believe in common sense. They don't think you should get to break the law like that and get away with it.
Not to mention all the fraud. Shitloads of fraud.
I don't know when, I guess we'll be back here in a week or something, but the reality is not going to change. No matter how much Chuck Schumer tries to villainize ICE agents, no matter how many times I hear my colleagues from the other side try to stir up people, it will not change this very basic reality. We have front-loaded money for deportations, and those deportations will continue, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Nope.
Now,
not in
if
this
you want to
Congress.
make a proposal to stop that, put it on the floor. You'll lose.
Yeah, of course they will. And they're probably going to lose this government shutdown, as they did before, because they've really got nothing, because they know they're in the small minority. So, they could do whatever it is they want to do and not pay those different agencies, the TSA and FEMA and the U.S. Coast Guard, for crying out loud. Seriously, the Coast Guard, Secret Service. All right, Nick Sordor, infuriating. Much of DHS will officially be shutting down tomorrow night and will be shut down for at least a week because senators want to go hang out in Europe, which there's some security bullshit conference happening. I think it was in Munich. And I looked up all that yesterday on the Swamp. There's a handful of Democrats that are going out there to rub shoulders with the elites. And to be fair, there's a few Republicans going out there too. So anyway, WTF leader John Thune cancel their trips, force them to stay. You have the power. I don't think they would anyway.
Be a shutdown for just the Department of Homeland.
Look, what they really should do, they should put like any bill that they want, they could put it down to the floor for a vote while they're out there, gallivanting in Europe. And if there's at least 10 Democrat senators out there, then I don't know if that's legal. I don't know if they can actually do that. If they really actually physically have to be present for them to vote on anything. I know that would be a pretty dirty trick. But still, I don't know. It's worth trying if they can.
12:0001 on Saturday morning. That test vote needed 60 yeas. There were 52 yeses on this. John Fetterman, the Democrat from Pennsylvania, was the only Democratic yes. And John Thune, the Republican leader in the Senate, he switched his vote to no. That gives him the ability to recall this if they were to get a deal. Just after that test vote went down, you had Katie Britt, the Republican senator from Alabama, come to the floor and try to get what they call unanimous consent, where they agree on the spot, all 100 senators, for a 2-week interim spending bill for DHS, and that was objected to by Chris Murphy, the Democrat from Connecticut. So this means that there's about 61,000 TSA employees who would not be paid during this shutdown, and also about 20,000 FEMA employees. And because Congress is expected to be out for the next 8-9 days, that means the government shutdown probably runs for at least a week or two. Now, Democrats, they just put out their legislative text a couple of days ago. You had the White House counteroffer last night. Chris Murphy said that wasn't enough time to turn it around. Katie Britt said, well, you guys should have gotten your proposal on ICE changes a couple of days early. The other factor in this, and Eric Schmidt, the Republican senator from Missouri, was very critical of some of his colleagues. There's the Munich Security Conference that many colleagues are going to fly over there right now. And he said they care more about going to Europe and criticizing American foreign policy than dealing with DHS.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt they're going to be doing that. No doubt they're going to be criticizing American policy. It's all anti-Trump. Breaking, a group of GOP senators are on the floor pushing hard for a ban on sanctuary cities to immediately be passed. The End Sanctuary Cities Act would allow for the arrest of elected officials who refuse to obey federal immigration laws. This and the Save America Act are the two most important bills in quite a long time. Get them passed.
Or if you want people to obey the law in this country, do away with sanctuary cities. Senator Murphy is from Connecticut. It's one of 12 sanctuary states. What does that mean? Local officials, state officials, refuse to work with the federal government to turn people over to the federal government as required by federal law. So you want to obey the law in Connecticut? Stop being a sanctuary state. You want to fix immigration? Have policies that make sense. Y'all act like for 4 years Biden wasn't president. Every Democratic senator aided and abetted the Biden
they love to pretend
administration
that.
with a massive invasion of this country. You
They
turned
say
the
Trump
other
didn't
way,
win,
you
but then
never
they want to
said a
assume
word.
Trump was
You
president
let
throughout Biden's
obliterate our
administration.
border. You let him send people into the interior on planes, trains, and automobiles. Only God knows what happened, who's here. You said Biden, you did nothing.
400,000 immigrant children went missing. 300,000 are still missing.
They're never going to agree to deport anybody because all their proposals make it pretty much impossible to deport anybody. Body cameras, that makes sense. If you want to find out how to make ICE more professional, count me in. But your proposal is to require a judicial warrant to deport somebody. Can you imagine how many judges you would need if you got 15 million illegal people here?
Again,
to
that's
go
the
get
idea.
a warrant from a
That's
judge.
what they want.
This
It's
is
all part of
not
the plan.
a criminal proceeding. This is an administrative proceeding. The president, as the commander-in-chief, has the ability to detain and deport people administratively. You don't need a federal judge. You're trying to create a mechanism so we will fail cleaning up your mess. We got elected to clean up your mess. We're going to hold ICE agents accountable if they went too far. Tom Homan went to Minnesota to turn the heat down. Great. Democratic politicians all over this country have been turning the heat up.
Yeah, they have.
You're wedded to lousy,
And they're not gonna back
dangerous
off.
policies. Senator Murphy, why don't you get Connecticut right with federal law? Here's what's happened. We got 12 sanctuary states, 200 plus sanctuary communities, 25,000 people. ICE has requested a detainer, ignored for 2 years. States have refused to work with ICE for 25,000 people that have a detainer at the federal level. Sanctuary city law is a magnet for future illegal immigration. Sanctuary city policies are full of fraud, like in Minneapolis. They bring out the worst in the system, not the best, and it breaks down law and order. We've been talking for weeks about you want to fix things. You're blocking a debate. I can't believe I'm here. I thought we were going to work together to try to find out how to reform ICE and also address the bottom line problem, which is sanctuary city law abuse. That's the problem, not ICE, not Miller, not me, not Noam. Policies that have been in place that entice more illegal immigration. Every Democratic senator turned the other way during the 4 years of Biden. You didn't do anything to bring reason to chaos. How many of you spoke about Lincoln Raleigh? Talking about children being abused. How many thousands of people have been raped and abused, stolen, and mistreated because of this invasion of illegal immigrants from virtually all over the world?
Yeah, all over the world.
People from gangs,
Africa,
you name it.
Asia, they came from
So
everywhere.
you never talk about the victims.
They flew them
Just
in under
wanna
the cover
talk
of
about
darkness.
TV in
Every day
Minnesota.
for years.
I'm all for these ICE agents being reviewed. I'm all for making them more professional. But I'm not all for stopping the mandate that President Trump was given, which is to deal with illegal immigration and the criminal elements therein. So I have legislation, it's S3805, and it says if a state or local official does not turn over to the federal government an illegal immigrant who's facing criminal charges, been convicted or facing
Not just
criminal
violent,
charges,
any criminal
then
charges.
that state or local official can go to jail. You have an obligation under federal law to turn
Should
these
be required
people
to put
over.
them in jail.
Sanctuary states and cities, 25,000 ICE detainers denied. 25,000 people that should be deported have not been turned over to the federal government because of these 12 states and these 200 sanctuary cities. Let's get to the root cause of the problem. So, Mr. President, I am going to ask unanimous consent that we vote on S3805 that would make it a crime for a state or local official not to turn over to federal authorities a criminal illegal immigrant. Somebody's charged with a crime or convicted with a crime, and if you don't turn them over, you would face punishment. That will stop illegal sanctuary city policy. If people knew they would go to jail for breaking federal law, I think they would stop. You've had weeks, and we're not even debating. You're never going to change. If you want to have immigration policed, our Democratic friends will never be there for you. They turned their back on you and your family and allowed this nation to be invaded by 10, 15, 20 million people. Who the hell knows? We're trying to fix it. We're trying to fix it, and we're not going to give up. And until you change the policies, you never stop illegal immigration. If there are 12 states, Mr. President, that have sanctuary status, they'll keep coming. All they got to do is get to one of these states. It's magnets for future illegal immigration.
Well, yeah, California's right there on the southern border.
And it needs to stop. So, I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of calendar number 318, S3805. Further ask unanimous consent that the bill be considered read a third time and passed, and that the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
All right, well, I mean, that would certainly be nice if that bill got passed. Definitely important, very important. And it's crazy that Republicans are working their asses off to bring reason and safety back to blue states, and Democrats are working overtime to keep their own states full of immigrant criminals. It boggles the mind that we're at this point. All right, holy crap, a woman was caught on tape attempting to burn down a Kansas City warehouse that was planned to be used by ICE. As of now, the woman is still at large. She belongs in a prison for 20 plus years. Find her, lock her up. Let's see what she does. Okay, so there's no sound. I don't know why there's no sound. There's no sound. Tries to set fire at the South Kansas City warehouse. She gets a fire started. Doesn't sound like she was successful in burning it down. Of course, she's going to spend a number of years in prison for arson now. People have lost their ever-loving minds, man. Absolutely lost their minds. They just, they literally want to burn everything down. That's really what they want to do. They just want to burn the whole thing down to the ground. They want to steal all the money from all the billionaires, anybody who's made a successful life, and bring about communism, socialism, totalitarianism. This lady's out of her freaking mind. I don't know if they caught her or not. I don't think they did. Yeah, it says she's still at large, and this was earlier today, at least when that was posted. So she might have been caught by now, maybe. I mean, her face was all over the camera, so I'm sure it's probably not going to take a lot of effort to find her. All right, so LMFAO, Tim Walz is demanding the Trump administration pay for what they broke in Minnesota after leftist riots tore through his state. Pay for what they broke. Your state, your streets, your voters, your failure. You cheered the chaos, you excused it, let the radicals run wild, and now you want a federal bailout for the damage. The people of Minnesota are paying the price for weak leadership and soft-on-crime politics. Take responsibility. Clean up your own mess. And that was from Baron T. News. And we'll hear this out.
The federal government needs to pay for what they broke here. There are going to be accountability on the things that happened, but one of the things is the incredible and immense costs that were borne by the people of this state. The federal government needs to be responsible. You don't get to break things and then just leave without doing something about it. So we're going to be asking the federal delegation to be investing and doing the things necessary. The federal
It's hilarious. It's hilarious that he actually has the nerve to demand that the American people pay for the damage caused by his leftist rioters in Minnesota. That is beyond hilarious. It's because Minnesota doesn't have any money, because he allowed fraud. What is it, $18 billion? I mean, that's probably the conservative number. It's probably in the tens of billions of dollars that have been fraudulently stolen from the people in Minnesota, and probably some of it came from federal money too. So they just don't have any money left. They're flat broke because they allowed countless billions of dollars to be just squandered away from them, in the form of fraud from immigrants. It's absolutely insane. Most of them Somali immigrants, apparently. All right, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. This man overstayed his visa by 16 years. We are a nation of law and order. Overstaying your visa violates federal immigration law. This is from the New York Post. Irishman stuck in ICE custody 2,000 miles from his Boston home for overstaying his visa 16 years ago. It's just torture. Well, you should have gone home almost 2 freaking decades ago. All right, so an Irishman who overstayed his 90-day tourist visa more than 15 years ago has been held in a Texas immigration detention facility for nearly 5 months rather than be deported, despite calling it a form of torture. Well, yeah, I'm sure it does suck being held in confinement, but, it is what it is. Seamus Colleton, who is married to an American woman, told Irish media that he has a valid U.S. work permit and a pending green card application when he was suddenly picked up by agents in Boston, where he runs a construction company. Does he pay taxes? I have a feeling he probably doesn't. He was cuffed and eventually flown more than 2,000 miles from home to a camp facility in Fort Bliss Army Base in Texas, where he alleges he's been locked in the same quote-unquote filthy room. Well, dude, you're in jail. It's not going to be, like hospital clean conditions. But it certainly looks like he's enjoying the fruits of his labor for being here illegally. All of that like non-paid for non-tax money or what have you. It's a nightmare down here, Colleton complained to RTE, claiming he is in fear for my life. It's just a torture. I just don't know how much more I can take. The Kilkenny native claimed that he did not know why he was being held, while admitting that he refused to sign papers approving his deportation. Well, it's because you're going to get deported. That's the clear, simple reason. I mean, dude, at least you're not like freaking Vitaly. If you're familiar with the YouTuber Vitaly, who was he was arrested in the Philippines. He's held in Filipino lockup for at least the next year and a half. And you think that the conditions are bad here. Oh my God, it's nothing compared to Filipino prison. I'm sure there's documentaries on YouTube that show how bad those conditions can get. It is horrible. Rats running around, roaches, no air conditioning. Again, it's in the Philippines. It's damn near pretty close to the equator, if not sitting right on it. So anyway, yeah. Department of Homeland Security spokesperson Tricia McLaughlin cited that as proof that the Irishman chose to stay in detention, while stressing he was only in the country by overstaying his initial tourist visa. He entered the U.S. in 2009 under the Visa Waiver Program, which allows you to stay in the U.S. for 90 days without a visa, just 90 days. He failed to depart the U.S., she said in a statement on X. He received full due process and was issued a final order of removal by an immigration judge on September 10th of 2025. Absolutely ridiculous that it took them that long to finally give him a final order of removal. He was offered the chance to instantly be removed to Ireland, but chose to stay in ICE custody. In fact, he took affirmative steps to remain in detention. So Colleton said he was initially pulled over by the feds on September 9th after he stopped at a Home Depot to return some items in his van. I complied with everything they asked. They asked if I had a green card. I said I didn't, and I was married to a citizen, and that I had a marriage-based petition in place, and I was just about to receive my green card, and that I had a work permit to be here and work, he claims. I mean, wifey, did it never cross your mind that perhaps he only married you because he wanted to stay in the United States? I mean, that's probably chances are exactly why he ended up marrying her. He added that he believed he was okay, given that he had received a work permit roughly a month earlier. His wife, Tiffany Smythe, recalled getting the call from her husband. He rang me and he said, "Don't freak out." And I said, "What is wrong?" And he said, "ICE picked me up," she told RTE. He rang me? He didn't call you, he rang you? Is she also a former UK citizen? Anyway, Colleton was initially taken to a holding cell in Burlington, Massachusetts, before being transferred to the detention camp facility at Fort Bliss Army Base in Texas. As his case made its way through the immigration courts, Colleton claims he had been forced to endure torturous conditions that have left him fearing for his life. You don't know what's going to happen on a day-to-day basis. You don't know if there's going to be riots. You don't know what's going to happen. Well, why is that the fault of the agents? That would be the fault of the inmates, dude. Colleton said, saying he had been locked in the same room for months. Well, yeah, because they're trying to protect you. Because you by his claim, it's torturous conditions. He's scared to death. He doesn't know when shit's going to pop off. Okay, well, then they're going to keep you in special housing. And that way, nothing bad's going to happen to you, dude. I have barely any outside time, no fresh air, no sunshine. We have 2 TVs on the wall. There are 72 detainees here in total. That's not that bad. We get 3 meals a day, very, very small meals. I'm sure you get plenty. Kid-sized meals, so everybody is hungry, adding that the completely nasty bathrooms are very rarely cleaned. Colleton's sister Caroline called the moment her brother was picked up the start of the whole nightmare. His whole life just ended that day. It was put on hold, yada, yada. Oh, well, I got only one line left. Politicians in the detained man's native Ireland have vowed to complain to the White House about his case. Yeah, whatever, dude. You should have left as soon as they picked you up. I mean, they gave him the option to leave immediately, and he didn't. I mean, I get he's got a wife and all. She can go meet you over there in Ireland. I'm sure he's made plenty of construction money going to football games and wherever the hell that's at. So, anyway, so that happened. I came across my feed today. Benny Johnson, ICE, this isn't a good look for you. Lib, you think I care about my look? ICE, no, it's evident by how you look. You don't care. Trust me, if you cared, you would care about the child who got AR'd and the person who got murdered by the person we're looking for. Savage. Have a look.
This isn't where I live. That's fine. But this isn't where I live.
Do your parents still pay all your bills?
No.
Because I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case.
If my parents paid all my bills.
We just want to make sure you got home.
This isn't where I live.
Okay, Olivia, we appreciate it.
You can go talk to them.
Well,
this isn't where I live.
So if this is not where your vehicle's registered, you might want to look that up with their state.
It is, buddy. My address is correct on my ID and where my car is registered.
Okay.
Good try, though.
All right. Thanks, Olivia.
Do you feel strong or what?
We're good. Have a great day, okay?
I'll keep following you, okay?
Oh, no, she doesn't care. It's all right. No, come on. She doesn't care? She doesn't care. They never do.
It'd be hilarious. He's like, oh, you're going to follow us? All right, come on, let's go.
How does it feel to be a race traitor?
You know, we were trying to
Race
get
traitor.
a child molester, right?
No, you weren't.
Yes, we were.
How would you know?
Because it was a woman you talked to.
His wife.
And then his plate came back as murder.
Also, I just want to say, calling someone a race traitor.
But you guys don't care.
I hope you realize that is the most racist thing you can say as a white
incredible.
woman.
Of course,
And
it
just
is.
so you know, this isn't a good look for you.
You think I care about my look?
No, oh no, trust me.
When you guys
it
are-
is evident by how you look, you don't care. We get that, trust me. No,
Yeah,
that's
we
what I'm saying. I'm just
totally
saying
get that,
this,
lady. You don't
trying to
give
be
a
social
fuck.
warrior. If you actually cared, you probably would care about the child who got raped and also the person who got murdered by the person that we were looking for. But see, you don't care.
No, I don't care because you guys try.
Thank you.
Just try to detain legal immigrants. None of you actually give a shit. If you were here to get illegal, violent immigrants off the street, that would be fine. That's not what you're doing.
It's not. No, hold on. It's okay. She
You
said
need to
that's
back
not.
up.
It's not.
It's not what you're doing.
Just so you know, if you were to spray that, you would be arrested.
That's fine.
Okay.
Don't come close to
Well,
me.
we're gonna tell you this. Stop following us.
No, it's not illegal.
So you don't want us to come close to you, but you keep riding our tail.
I have given you plenty of distance the entire time.
Okay. Just so you know, if you do impede,
Not have anything else better to do.
Me following you is not impeding. I'm well aware of my
Because she's
rights,
getting
buddy.
paid to do so.
You will be arrested.
I think that's
have not
quite clear.
impeded.
I'm just letting you know.
What are you looking for, you fucking weirdo?
She put that OC? It's right.
Yeah, she did. But
What are you looking for, you fucking weirdo?
It's so funny that they're fucking with her. Yeah, I mean, it's quite clear she's getting paid. I'm sure she's going to submit this footage to whatever leftist organization that's funding all of these people. So I was following them for 4 hours. Okay, so that's, all right, $10 times 4. Okay, here you go, $40. And then they'll just keep doing what they're doing because she got nothing else better to do. All right, libs of TikTok. Unhinged lady at Seven Oaks Elementary School in Washington State approached and harassed a sheriff's deputy who was parked at the school, claiming he was scaring families by being there. She then criticized the deputy, saying that he should be the defending line between us and effing fascism. Props to the deputy for handling this insane leftist Karen so well. Again, this is on libs of TikTok.
What are you doing?
What am I doing here?
Why are you here?
Because I'm a sheriff.
I was just doing a collision report, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you guys going to be here much longer?
Until I'm done doing my job.
Because one of the teachers, when I dropped off over there, said y'all been circling since about 8.
Okay. Well, I'm just doing my job, so the quicker I do
Your
my
job
job...
at the elementary school since about 8 a.m.?
I wasn't here at
There was
8
a
a.m.
collision here at the elementary school?
You have a good day. I'm going to continue to do my
You
job.
work for us, and you're scaring these families.
Okay. Well,
You
I'm
should
gonna
probably
continue
go
to
do
my
your job where
Welcome to
your job
Washington
lives.
State.
Because I don't see that it needs to be right here all morning.
Might you want to bet she's a sovereign citizen?
The person that I was just working with
Mhm.
left approximately 5 minutes ago.
Mhm.
This was a collision report for them.
Mhm.
I'm doing my job.
Can
I
you
gave them all their information.
Can you maybe, like for a second, acknowledge that you could be a really upsetting sight for people right now?
Defund the police, perhaps?
I get it. I do. I get it. But like for us to be able to collaborate with y'all at all going forward, you're going to have to.
So, lady, if you ever get into a car accident, you're never going to call the police to file a report or anything like that. I mean, the dude's filing a collision report. Somebody caused an accident, and he's there filling out the report. Insurance companies kind of need that
Show us
stuff.
some humanity. You're going to have to show us that you understand
Oh my God,
the
this lady's so brain dead.
circumstances and the feelings that you evoke. Because, like, it would be so rad to feel like you're here for us. It would be so rad to feel like you guys get it and understand that you are actually the defending line between us and the fucking fascism. But until, like, that's overt, until that's overt that you're part of our community,
Well, ma'am,
then I don't think you should be lingering
with
here.
absolutely all due respect, I'm not going to continue to go back and forth. I'm going to try to finish my job as fast as possible. Okay. Okay. Keep in mind that you are cussing. We are in front of a school. So please just
That is fair.
okay?
I'll give you that. That's fair.
Okay, so the quicker I get
Yeah,
this done, I
so
can
fuck
leave,
off.
okay?
Yeah.
I'm not
just
really not trying to bother
really
you,
be
okay?
thinking about these kids and these moms.
Look, I get it, ma'am.
You know what moms are going through right now, right?
I do understand that, but let me just please, I'll get this out of the way and I'll be out of everyone's hair,
I sure
okay?
would appreciate that.
Yep. You have a good rest of your day,
You
okay?
too.
Oh my God, what a fucking psycho. I think you should immediately check her car because she's probably got some sovereign citizen fake-ass paper plates on her car. Probably doesn't have a license, probably no insurance, no registration, not a freaking thing. All right, townhall.com, Nick Shirley interviews migrants living in tents on the streets of California. We came here to change our lives, and now we are living like dogs. We aren't animals, we're human. Gavin Newscum owns this. And keep in mind that the state of California funded $24 billion for homelessness over the last 5 years. And that amounts to roughly $130,000 for each homeless person, for each one. And like whether if they're there illegally or not, I mean, if they're homeless in California, they're homeless in California. Those programs are supposed to be there for people who are homeless in California. And obviously none of that money's going to them.
¿Ustedes son de Colombia?
Sí, somos colombianos, nos gusta la música.
¿Ya cuánto tiempo ustedes llevan aquí en los Estados Unidos?
Llevo
Holy shit, dude. Nick Shirley knows Spanish fluently? That's crazy.
Cuando ustedes vinieron aquí a los Estados Unidos, ¿pensaban que iba a llegar aquí a este punto a vivir
I know, I still
aquí
gotta
en
watch
esta
this
calle?
documentary. I haven't seen it yet.
Pensábamos que iba a ser una vida diferente.
O sea, vinimos para cambiar la vida. Pensaba que íbamos a cambiar nuestras vidas, no íbamos a estar así como perros, no es como estamos como perros. Porque no somos animales, somos seres humanos. Pero, coño, mira a los niños, tenemos los niños aquí, ¿ves? Una criaturita.
So here on Skid Row, we got migrants that came here from Colombia, and there's little kids here, and they live inside this tent. I imagine they didn't expect their life to be like this when they crossed over the border. ¿Ustedes pensaban que cuando cruzaron por la frontera, eso iba a ser la vida?
No.
No. Y Dylan, ¿te gusta vivir aquí en los Estados Unidos?
No.
Ya, entonces ustedes pasaron por mucho para llegar aquí a los Estados Unidos,
claro.
Y ahora está viviendo en carpas aquí en uno de los más peligrosos lugares en todo el mundo.
¿Sí?
¿Y tu calidad de vida está mejor aquí que fue allí en Colombia?
En Colombia, estoy 1000 veces mejor en Colombia.
Well, dude, go back to Colombia then. I mean, what are you waiting for, man? I mean, look, it's probably not that easy. You can't just simply pick up and just like walk to Colombia. Even though he probably came over with the caravans, but I mean, back then they had assistance with convoys of vehicles and buses because there was a lot of quote unquote nonprofit left-leaning organizations that went down there and provided a lot of money, a lot of resources, a lot of transportation, food, and all that stuff during the Biden administration. Remember all that? All that was going on. You're even telling them exactly what to say when they got to the border, if they had contact made with Border Patrol and the whole 9 yards. All right, so libs of TikTok. Oh my God, employees from the Maryland Department of Labor at MD_labor, there they are right there, are reportedly handing out business cards claiming they will protect all workers, no matter your immigration status. This appears to be in direct violation of the Immigration Reform and Control Act of 1986, which makes it illegal to hire an alien who is not authorized to work in the United States. Maryland wants to protect illegal alien workers. This needs to be investigated immediately. And that is Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon, and also, of course, the Justice Department. And here are the cards that they're handing out that Libs of TikTok got their hands on. Maryland law protects all workers. Maryland Department of Labor, Division of Labor and Industry, no matter your immigration status. And they give phone numbers, they give an email. I would have liked to check out the website, but they don't give a website. And of course, it's in Spanish too. And they've got the name of the individual that's handing them out, as well as her email address. Paid leave, employment rights, we can help, QR code. All right, so there you go. Don't call them, don't email them. I'm not recommending anybody do that. You know, if you end up doing that, you didn't get all that here, because I'm not recommending any of that. But it was Libs of TikTok. Libs of TikTok put that out. Okay, let's move on to the next. Raw's alert. Breaking. Watch as anti-ICE protesters, students in Los Angeles walk out of class and clash with law enforcement during a protest march. The situation escalated into physical confrontations in the streets, leaving at least one federal agent injured. Oh, man. You weren't playing games anymore. The future of our country. Our quote-unquote best and brightest. No, definitely not in LA. I'd somehow doubt that. Maybe one or two. But the rest, I don't think they're getting any education really at this school at all, except how to be a good, obedient, not a good, but an obedient little ant. A leftist consumer, just another mouth. Oh, great! Somebody just threw an object at him. You know, that was assault on an officer. If they could find out who did that. All right, Clown World. A woman jumps in front of an ICE agent trying to block him in the middle of a crowd. He snatches her phone. She gets right back in his face again, and that's when he puts her on the ground. Some people just have to learn the hard way. Oh, yeah, blowing the R whistles.
You can't take my phone. You cannot. Oh, that's illegal, sir. That's kidnapping. Hey!
Here we go. Once they go hands-on, man, you're under arrest.
You need to get off of her right now.
Get the fuck off.
You stole her phone. Hey! Call 911. Someone call 911.
Call 911.
Call 911.
It's so hilarious when they say that.
Someone call the
These people
police.
are so brain dead, man.
That is assault. That is kidnapping of her phone.
What's your name? What's your name?
Law enforcement is on the scene, and they scream, "Call the police." Can't make this shit up.
Someone call 911.
Yeah, but you all want to abolish all of that. You want to abolish the police.
Identify yourself.
Who the hell are you going to call if there's no police?
Who are you?
And they're anti-guns, which is even more hilarious.
Shame! Shame!
Did they arrest her? Like, did he actually carry her in? Was that who had the blanket? No, I don't think so. What happened to the lady? I didn't see what happened to the lady. There's just too much chaos going on. I mean, I'm assuming they hauled her inside. There's no way that they just let her go after going hands-on with her like that. And I mean, that's one thing I've really I'm really irritated with federal agents with regard to that. Anytime they put a finger on somebody, they have got to arrest them for obstruction. And they're not doing it. I don't know why they're not. I just don't get it. I mean, they're like all of those people that were out there, if the agents had to walk to their vehicle and there were people standing between them and their vehicle, they can legally arrest them for obstruction, which is a felony, punishable by up to 8 years in prison. But they're just not doing it. I don't get it. All right, U.S. Army, Friday the 13th. The only unlucky ones are our enemies. No matter the date, we've got your back, America. And that's just an image from the U.S. Army. I just came across that. It's the only Friday the 13th post that I saw, and I always find it interesting whenever it's Friday the 13th, especially because my daughter, she was born on Friday the 13th, so it's always been kind of a special day ever since that big day happened way back when. Man, it was a long time ago. Time flies, man. All right, so rapid response 47 from President Trump. He talks about meeting with the Prime Minister of Hungary, Viktor Orban. He's a truly strong and powerful leader with a proven track record of delivering phenomenal results. He fights tirelessly for and loves his great country and people, just like I do for the United States of America. Viktor works hard to protect Hungary, grows the economy, creates jobs, promote trade, and stops illegal immigration and ensure law and order. Relations between Hungary and the United States have reached new heights of cooperation and spectacular achievement under my administration, thanks largely to Prime Minister Orban. I look forward to continuing working closely with him so that both of our countries can further advance this tremendous path to success and cooperation. I was proud to endorse Viktor for re-election in 2022 and am honored to do so again. Viktor Orban is a true friend, fighter, and winner, and has my complete and total endorsement for re-election as Prime Minister of Hungary. He will never let the great people of Hungary down. President Donald J. Trump. So I don't know if he met with them today. I assume he met with them today. I assume that's the whole point of the message, right? All right, rapid response. Washington, Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem today announced the termination of temporary protected status for Yemen. The termination is effective 60 days after the notice is published in the Federal Register. Yemen was initially designated for temporary protected status on September 3rd of 2015 based on a determination that there was an ongoing armed conflict and that due to the conflict, requiring nationals of Yemen to return would pose a serious threat to their personal safety. Following the initial designation, DHS extended and redesignated Yemen for TPS in 2017, 2018, 2020, 21, 23, and 24. After reviewing conditions in the country and consulting with appropriate U.S. government agencies, I determined that Yemen no longer meets the law's requirements to be designated for temporary protected status, said Secretary Noem. Allowing TPS Yemen beneficiaries to remain temporarily in the United States is contrary to our national interest. TPS was designed to be temporary, and this administration is returning TPS to its original temporary intent. We are prioritizing our national security interests and putting America first. TPS Yemen beneficiaries with no other lawful basis for remaining in the United States have 60 days to voluntarily depart the United States. We encourage aliens leaving the U.S. to use the U.S. Customs and Border Protection CBP Home app to report their departure from the United States. The app provides a safe, secure way to self-deport that includes a complimentary plane ticket, a $2,600 exit bonus, and potential future opportunities for legal immigration. After the effective date of the termination, the Department of Homeland Security may arrest and deport any Yemeni national without status once their TPS has been terminated. If an alien forces DHS to arrest and remove them, they may never be allowed to return to the United States. All right, Bureau of International Organization Affairs. President Trump is clear. American engagement requires genuine partnership, not the exploitation of our goodwill and resources. South Sudan's leaders are continuing to undermine peace, pushing the country toward war and displacing thousands. Their actions are blocking humanitarian assistance and forcing, UNMISS media, UNMISS, UN mission in South Sudan, personnel to evacuate, making a dire emergency even worse. We condemn South Sudan's actions and its failure to uphold basic commitments. Any further non-cooperation by South Sudan will be a decisive factor in our future diplomatic engagement and assistance. In other words, you're getting cut off.
President Trump has made clear that American engagement requires genuine partnership, not exploitation of our goodwill and resources.
Yeah, she didn't look too happy to hear that news. All right. We'll just have to see what happens in South Sudan. It's kind of a shame, man, because it's the poorest country in the whole world. The average take-home salary on an annual basis in terms of USD is only $400. That's it, $400 in an entire year. It's crazy. All right, Secretary Marco Rubio, in my meeting earlier today with German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, we discussed our shared efforts to secure supply chains, advanced efforts to end the Russia-Ukraine war, and strengthen the partnership between the United States and Europe. And of course, he's the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. He used to be my senator until he became the secretary. All right, U.S. Central Command. U.S. forces complete mission in Syria to transfer ISIS detainees to Iraq. From Tampa, well, the story's out of Tampa. U.S. Central Command, or CENTCOM, completed a transfer mission following a nighttime flight from northeastern Syria to Iraq on February 12th to help ensure ISIS detainees remain secure in detention facilities. The 23-day transfer mission began on January 21st and resulted in U.S. forces successfully transporting more than 5,700 adult male ISIS fighters from detention facilities in Syria to Iraqi custody. Quote, job well done to the entire Joint Force team who executed this exceptionally challenging mission on the ground and in the air with great focus, professionalism, and collaboration with our regional partners, end quote, said Admiral Brad Cooper, CENTCOM commander. Quote, we appreciate Iraq's leadership and recognition that transferring the detainees is essential to regional security. U.S. and coalition forces under Combined Joint Task Force Operation Inherent Resolve, CJTF-OIR, led mission planning, coordination, and execution. Quote, I am extremely proud of the coalition's exceptional work, end quote, said U.S. Army Major General Kevin Lambert, CJTF-OIR commander. The successful execution of this orderly and secure transfer operation will help prevent an ISIS resurgence in Syria. Established by CENTCOM in 2014, CJTF-OIR has advised, assisted, and enabled partner forces in the fight against the ISIS network, which was territorially defeated in 2019. There you go, man. They're moving them out of Syria. And from Theo World, let's see here. Let me start with this one. CNN breaking news. Kathy Rumler, is it Rumler? I don't even know. Rumler. I'm just going to say Rumler. Is resigning as chief legal officer at Goldman Sachs amid increased scrutiny of her relationship to Jeffrey Epstein. Uh-oh. And Kathy Ruelmer, top Goldman Sachs lawyer, resigning amid Epstein fallout. The chief legal officer at Goldman Sachs said Thursday night she is resigning amid fallout from the Justice Department's release of millions of pages of Jeffrey Epstein documents. Her resignation is effective June 30th. She's going to stick around until June. Of course she is. Maybe it'll all quiet down and nobody will notice anymore, and then maybe she'll just quietly stay. Her announcement comes as she has weathered numerous news stories in recent weeks examining her relationship with the disgraced financier. Realmer and those around her have insisted she had a professional relationship with Epstein. Since I joined Goldman Sachs 6 years ago, it has been my privilege to help oversee the firm's legal, reputational, and regulatory matters to enhance our strong risk management processes and to ensure that we live by our core value of integrity in everything we do. Ruelmer, a former Obama White House counsel, oh wow, really? She was even a part of Obama's White House counsel, fancy that, said in a statement to CNN, quote, "My responsibility is to put Goldman Sachs' interests first. Earlier today, I regretfully informed David Solomon of my intention to step down as chief legal officer and general counsel of Goldman Sachs as of June 30th, 2026. Well, look, man, if you're not guilty of anything, then, you know, if you did nothing wrong, you did nothing wrong. I don't know. Obviously, she did something wrong. David Solomon, CEO of Goldman Sachs, told CNN in a statement, throughout her tenure, Kathy has been an extraordinary general counsel, and we are grateful for her contributions and sound advice on a wide range of consequential legal matters for the firm. As one of the most accomplished professionals in her field, Kathy has also been a mentor and friend to many of our people, and she will be missed. I accepted her resignation, and I respect her decision." And there's probably, oh no, that's it. I was gonna say, I thought there was gonna be some more left in that article, but we got through it. So let's check out the response. The response from Theo Wald. Isn't it interesting that Democrats spent a year talking about Epstein and now it's been exposed that the current former American government official with the most ties to Epstein after he became an S offender was Barack Obama's White House counsel? Yeah, isn't that interesting? It just seems like that there's a lot of people affiliated with Democrats more than Republicans who are all tied up in the Epstein files. And of course, they want to throw out, you know, like frivolous numbers, trying to tie Trump to all of these Epstein documents when like 99.9% of any mention of President Trump in the Epstein documents was placed in those documents after he became president, which I find to be quite interesting. You know, as far as like witness testimony, witness statements, you know, any mention of Trump's name, it's through people who are quote unquote witnesses to things that happen. And you know, like all of these statements and testimonies gathered by the DOJ and the FBI over the years, like I believe like virtually all of them were after Trump announced that he was running for president. But, you know, I think you could put two and two together on that. You know, it's like all in the middle of the whole Russia bullshit. All right, Shadow of Ezra, Rep. Tim Burchett tells Benny Johnson that the real material in the Epstein files will haunt you for the rest of your life. Quote, "It's evil, it's satanic, and it's from the pits of hell," unquote. Burchett says the people responsible will go straight to the pits of hell, which I don't know why we're not seeing all that information. I thought the only thing we were not privy to was the name of the victims. What about everything else? All the other bullshit that they're redacting. I thought, you know, according to the Epstein Files Transparency Act, we're supposed to see every single word of it, except for the victims' names. But
this
maybe I'm wrong.
stuff that is in these files makes all that pale in comparison. And if you're offered an opportunity to view the pictures or read the files,
oh, I'm sure the pictures are horrific.
I would seriously consider not doing that.
Yeah.
Because it will haunt you, this stuff that's in there. And here's the problem. The Biden administration, the Obama administration, you know, these files have been out there forever. And I've said this many times. If they had the goods on Trump, you know that
100%.
The Obama administration / the Biden administration, because they're
there would have been no reason for the whole Russia hoax in the first place if they had damning information on Trump. If he was truly guilty of evil things that were done at Epstein Island or at his New York estate or whatever the hell, then yeah, they would have not had to manufacture anything. They could have just used that on its own.
It never really changed.
Because it never happened.
They would have had that stuff out there. And this stuff just goes so deep, Benny, and it is very disgusting to me. And, you know, it's evil, it's satanic, and it's from the pits of hell, and that's where these people will end up.
Yeah, you know, God willing, they will. All right, from Rep. Anna Paulina Luna, pedos deserve the death penalty, not plea deals. And I don't know if she linked anything with this. I don't think she did. I think it was just a short statement that she said, which, yeah, absolutely agree with that. And also signaling that the state of Florida, we do offer the death penalty for people who are pedos. And I don't think anybody's been convicted and sentenced to death for that term that YouTube doesn't like people saying on YouTube. But the death penalty is there. I think it's been in place for a couple of years now at this point, thanks to Governor Ron DeSantis. Defiant L's question, do you think a child as young as 4 can make an informed decision about changing their gender? And the answer that this individual gave, who of course doesn't have any children, I would guess, yes, gender is a construct. It's not a big deal.
If I might just quickly ask, do you think a child as young as 4 has the capability to make an informed decision about their gender?
Definitely doesn't have any children.
Yeah, I mean, gender's made up. Gender is a construct that we sort of abide by in the society that we live in. So if a child wants to refer to themselves with a pronoun of a different gender to the one that they were born with, I don't see that being an issue. That's, to me, similarly to trying out a different name, like a nickname from Alexandra going to Alex. Like, it's really not that big of a deal because these things are constantly changing. And, you know, a child might want to be referred to with pronouns of the sex that they were not assigned at birth. And that's not going to harm the child.
Well, yeah, okay, if it's made up, then you can't necessarily be one or the other.
Absolutely insane. I mean, that's they just want to raise people into useful idiots, people that have like no concept of reality at all. I mean, getting down to the age of 4, where boys they care about you know, fire trucks and Hot Wheels, and girls care about like ponies and Barbies. You know, they're in kindergarten, they're learning 1 + 1 = 2, and they're trying to teach them gender and all that bullshit. It's absolutely brain dead. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's crazy. And I've heard somebody propose the idea that one of these leftists should write a novel, a fiction novel, where all 3 of the main characters, or it could be 2, it could be 4, like however many main characters there are, let's just say that there's 3, all 3 of them have they, them pronouns. Now write the book and tell us that it's going to make any sense whatsoever by using they, them pronouns for all 3 of those characters. It ain't going to make a lick of sense. All right, Defiant L's aggressive trans activist calls a reporter the N-word multiple times and says, I have a picture of your kid, by the way, in his phone.
Nigger, fuck you. I have the picture of your kid on here, by the way. You want to see? You like that?
If anyone even fucking tries to harass, go near, or touch her or my stepdaughter, you will be killed. If you try to even fucking go close to my stepdaughter, I will fucking murder you.
I think that stepdaughter needs to be taken away from him.
Phone. Who the fuck are you? You know who the fuck this is? Quit calling my fucking cell phone.
Who are you?
It's Donald.
Oh, you mean the guy has like a cease and desist again?
Oh yeah. Well, basically, you need to watch what you fuck.
I'm gonna fucking kill you, and I'm not even fucking exaggerating. I will fucking come there and fucking.
Come on, man! Bring it! Bring it!
I'm not fucking kidding.
Bring it! Now you just under your threat. Now you just.
And I'm not even exaggerating that.
You're gonna kill me. You're gonna kill me.
Watch me.
You're gonna kill me, man. You just.
He said, "Watch me."
You're gonna fucking die, and I'm not even fucking kidding.
Now I just got you. Now I just got you on the live stream for fucking uttering threats.
I don't fucking care. You're fucking harassing me.
You fucking harass me. You threaten to fucking mace me. You threaten to assault me. You threaten to do everything to me. So own up to your actions, you fucking child groomer.
Child groomer.
Go away. Go away. That's assault. Go away. You just smashed your cane over my head.
Well, that person is just a freaking living, walking nightmare. Definitely needs to be taken off the streets. I can only imagine where they live, though. They probably keep getting let out of jail over and over again. All right, Clown World. Michigan State Police used a grappler device to stop a suspected stolen car on I-96 near Livonia, Michigan. The net wraps around the rear wheel to end the chase, but when the driver kept trying to take off, the entire axle ripped off the car. The vehicle came to a stop, and 3 people were taken into custody, which really sucks that they destroyed this car because it's a stolen car. It's not even their car. It's somebody else's car. But let's check this out. That shit's next level, man. I've never seen this before. I dig the sound effect. I'm assuming that was the sound effect. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe that's how it sounds. Oh, whoa! Yeah, they're not going anywhere. Oh my God, dude, it did. It ripped out their entire rear axle. That's crazy. They're using those now. I mean, why not? If they can use them, use them. All right, Libs of TikTok. CNN's Caitlin Collins thinks that the media reports fairly and accurately on Trump. The jokes just write themselves at this point.
You know, they always argue the media is biased against them and doesn't cover them fairly, even though we cover them, I think, fairly and accurately.
She is such a smug asshole.
You want the focus to be on the subject matter and not on you personally as a reporter. And so I always try to, you know, keep that distance in terms of that. And I think keeping your composure in that point is important because you never want to prove them right on that front. That they are right, that you're biased against them or that you have a personal, you know, angst here. I don't.
So in other words, like, I am totally biased against them. I just don't let them know that. You talk about, by the way, talk about somebody who has like constant resting pompous bitch face. All right, next order. Now, leftists are outside Don Lemon's federal court hearing, waving Mexican flags and dildos. Here's your daily reminder that Democrats are severely mentally ill, and it's only getting worse somehow. Yeah, viewer discretion is advised. I probably should have said that a second ago. I mean, these are Democrats. They're out in public. I guess if you want, you can keep voting for more of this. I mean, not that this has anything at all to do with Donald Trump. It's Don Lemon who's in the courthouse. I mean, what the hell? After pleading not guilty, Don Lemon said, "I will not be intimidated. I will not back down. I will fight these baseless charges, and I will not be silenced."
The process is the punishment with them. And like all of you here in Minnesota, the great people of Minnesota, I will not be intimidated. I will not back down. I will fight these baseless charges. And
it's like Jussie Smollett 2.0. Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Okay. Which, by the way, I think this weekend I'm going to go through his live stream, the entirety of his live stream when he went into the church with everyone and did all of that intimidation that he got arrested over. It's like 6 hours in total, but his attendance at the church wasn't 6 hours. It was like probably 30, 45 minutes in total. I think I might do a video on that over this weekend, and then I'll pull some posts that are leading up to that and some of the fallout from Don Lemon's perspective. So not 100%, but I think I might end up doing that this weekend. All right, Senate Republicans. President Trump and Republicans just killed Biden-era inflation and added 130,000 jobs in January. Well, actually, the number from what I read from the Department of Labor, it was 172,000 jobs if you include, farming jobs and non-farming jobs put together. It comes up to like over 170,000. Senator Cortez Masto and Democrats were responsible for 9% inflation. So much for Trump's golden age, and their tag in Newswire 2025 was the worst year for U.S. job growth outside of a recession since 2003. But yeah, I mean, what is this from? The Bureau of Labor Statistics, created by Data Wrapper. So, I mean, if it's from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, it's from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. I mean, of course, there was like the big rebound after 2020 when everything was on lockdown. Doesn't even look like we really recovered since 2020. I guess if you combine all of the years following, it probably makes up for all the losses in 2020. But anyway, so, all right, guess we'll move on. Senate Republicans, they wanted to chime in on that. From townhall.com, wow, cop-hating Mom Donnie calls for 0 charges against a man who tried murdering police responding to a 911 call. His handcuffs should be removed.
The Queens District Attorney is expected to bring charges against Javed Akhbari later today. I'm just wondering if you knew, if you talked to the Queen District Attorney about that, if you talked to the family. I'm curious what you would say about it.
So I think I caught the bulk of your question. I have not directly spoken with the District Attorney. I will say, however, that no family should have to endure this kind of pain. What they need right now is care, dignity, and support. Javed should not be prosecuted by the Queens District Attorney. His handcuffs should be removed.
The Queens District.
All right. Well, I don't know any context beyond what we just played. I can only go off of what townhall.com is saying, and they're a news outlet given their gold badge. So Yeah, apparently tried killing police, like literally tried to murder a cop, and Mom Donnie's like, nope, no, you got to let him go. All right, so this is from Emily Austin, who I think is, let me see. Okay, so she's got a pretty big following, sports broadcaster. Okay, well, that's probably why I've never heard of her, because I don't watch sports. But anyway, walking around New York City has become disgusting. Look at all the trash. Just tons of trash buildup. And not sure if that's like only on this street or if it's literally all over New York City. Wouldn't be surprising if it was all over New York City. It isn't like one of the things that they say about New York City is that it always smells like sour milk. That's what I've heard. I heard it's the city of sour milk. All right, Define L's Joy Behar. At the end of the day, Miss Bondi, you are looking at some prison time. Uh-oh, somebody triggered.
I am so disgusted. I am so saddened by what is the destruction of one of the biggest and strongest institutions in our country.
They're not towing the party line right now.
Just a little history. During the Watergate scandal, President Nixon did not go to jail, but John Mitchell did. John Mitchell was his attorney general.
Dude, Watergate is nothing compared to what's happened in the last 10 years. From the Democrats, exclusively. I mean, like, Republicans have done, like, practically nothing compared to what Democrats have been doing over the last decade. So, when you run for president, are you going to impose a wealth tax or a billionaire's tax? And this is from Define L's AOC. She says, we don't have to wait for any one president to impose a wealth tax. I think it needs to be done expeditiously. So they just want to take all the money that successful people earned and they just want to keep it for themselves because they jealous. They ain't billionaires. They want their money.
So when you run for president, are you going to impose a wealth tax or a billionaire's tax?
I don't think that I don't think that anyone,
Dude, that donkey
and that we don't
meme
have
is so
to wait
perfect.
for any one president
Every time she smiles,
to
I think
impose
donkey.
a wealth tax. I think that it needs to be done expeditiously.
And interestingly, when I wrote about wealth tax recently, and of course the big argument against this is always capital flight, the US is actually uniquely placed to do it because you guys tax on the basis of citizenship, so people can't flee, you know? And even if you change your citizenship, there's basically an exit tax because you have to pay a tax on unrealized capital gains. I learned this just recently.
Not if they leave with no intention on coming back and just dump everything into the Cayman Islands or in a Swiss bank account and say fuck off if they really wanted to. Plus the top 1% of income earners, they pay, what is it, like 60% of all income tax in the entire country. And Elon Musk, what was it, like I think he said it in for 2024, he paid more income tax as an individual than anybody else in the history of humanity. And I'm sure he did. I'm sure he did because all that earnings, I'm sure it's subject to capital gains tax, I would imagine. Of course, a lot of it's not like liquid cash, of course. It's all tied up in tons of stock. So maybe he's not subjected to capital gains tax until he sells his stock. Maybe that's probably the case. I don't know. I'm not an expert on all that. All right, so from the National Weather Service, looks like we got a weather system heading in. A storm system will bring heavy rainfall, thunderstorms, and flooding threats to portions of the southern plains today, the lower Mississippi Valley on Saturday, and the southeast into the mid-Atlantic on Sunday. Remember, if you come across flooded roadways, turn around, don't drown. Be sure to stay up to date with the latest forecast at weather.gov. And it's a government agency, the National Weather Service. So they have an animation, and I live down here in the deep, deep south. So yeah, we're going to be getting some rain this weekend. So yeah, it looks like it's gonna affect all of us down here in the southeast. And I think they forecasted my area to get about 1 inch of rain, which is a lot for this time of year. And I don't know if they've had any updates from that. When was that? Let me just double check. 12 hours ago. So that was kind of a while ago. I don't know if they have any updates on that. Yeah, looks like they've got that area of Louisiana and East Texas. Let's see, 11:32 a.m. Day 2 outlook, slight risk. Okay, so that was 10 hours ago. So yeah, they haven't posted anything in a while. Anyway, let's move on to the next. See what else we got. Oh yeah, by the way, up there in the Northeast, they're getting a lot of rain, but when aren't they? Fox News, Puerto Rico governor signs a law recognizing unborn babies as human beings. Let's go. Common sense in Puerto Rico. Governor Jennifer Gonzalez says the law aims to maintain consistency between civil and criminal provisions by recognizing the unborn child as a human being. Yeah, sounds like common sense to me. Puerto Rico's Republican governor on Thursday signed a bill that amends a law to recognize an unborn baby as a human being, which opponents argue could eventually lead to outlawing abortion in the U.S. territory. Yeah, God willing. Governor Jennifer Gonzalez said in a statement that the measure aims to maintain consistency between civil and criminal provisions by recognizing the unborn child as a human being. I mean, I would assume that the majority of Puerto Rico are Catholics, right? I mean, they're anti-abortion. The amendment in Senate Bill 923 altered an article within Puerto Rico's penal code that defines murder. The government said that the amendment complements a law affirming that it would be first-degree murder if a suspect intentionally and knowingly kills a pregnant woman, resulting in the death of the conceived child at any stage of gestation. The legislation was named after Keishla Rodriguez, a pregnant woman who was killed in April of 2021. Her partner, former Puerto Rican boxer Felix Verdejo, was convicted in the killing and received 2 life sentences. Supporters of the law said it was designed to provide consistency between civil and criminal codes and focused on harsher punishments for the murder of pregnant women, and that it was unrelated to abortion, but critics argued that it opens the door to eventually criminalizing the procedure in Puerto Rico, which remains legal. A zygote was given legal personality. Rosa Segui Cordero, an attorney and spokesperson for the National Campaign for Free, Safe, and Accessible Abortion in Puerto Rico, told the AP, "We women were stripped of our rights." Yeah, but what about the baby? Babies don't have any rights. It's just a fetus. All right, Dr. Carlos Diaz Velez, president of Puerto Rico's College of Medical Surgeons, contends that the new law would lead to defensive health care in which doctors may refuse to treat complicated pregnancies for fear of criminal prosecution on murder charges. Yeah, a lot of people are pushing back on this. This will bring complex clinical decisions into the realm of criminal law, he told the Associated Press, adding that it would bring disastrous consequences. No, it wouldn't. It would just allow more people to exist in Puerto Rico. That's the bottom line. It would increase the population of Puerto Rico. Why would that be a bad thing? Diaz said the amended law also allows a third person to intervene between a doctor and a pregnant woman, which violates privacy laws. He also said new protocols and regulations would need to be implemented. This system is not prepared for this, he said. Well, too effing bad. Opponents of the law also said the amendment was approved without public hearings. There is no doubt that the measure did not undergo adequate analysis before its approval and leaves an unacceptable space for ambiguity regarding civil rights. Annette Martinez Orabona, executive director for the American Civil Liberties Union in Puerto Rico, told the AP, the legislative leadership failed to fulfill its responsibility to the people, and so did the governor. Now, well, she's standing up for future unborn children. That's who she's standing up for. Human beings. They're all human beings. Keep your legs closed then. If you don't want to have kids, keep your damn legs closed. I mean, it ain't that hard. I mean, like, but syphilis cases, I mean, you can look this up if you don't believe me. Over the last 10 years, syphilis has gone up 1,000%. 1,000% cases of syphilis have gone up in America. Nasty. All right, U.S. Commerce Department. America will make its own medicine again. $400 billion in drug manufacturing is coming home, made and produced by American workers. President Trump is focused on reshoring our supply chains and ending decades of reliance on foreign nations. That's always good news. And who is that from again? Oh, the U.S. Commerce Department. Exclusive, Secretary Lutnick, $400 billion of pharma manufacturing coming home to America. Love to hear it. We're going to keep cheaper drugs. We're going to get cheaper drugs to America, and they're going to be made here as well. I expect we're going to have $400 billion of onshoring of pharmaceuticals. We're going to onshore. We're going to figure out how to onshore generics as well, said Lutnick. And he described the United States as a dominant force in global pharmaceutical markets due to its spending power. Generally speaking, for name brand drugs, Ozempic, Mounjaro, things like that, we produce 75% of their revenues and 100% of their profits, right? Because we are the big payer. We pay $1,000. Everyone else pays $150. Lutnick outlined the Trump administration's policy that tied favorable drug pricing to domestic manufacturing. Quote, so the president said, reshore it, make it here and take a certain class of your drugs and give us MFN. Then, while you're building and reshoring here, I won't charge you a massive tariff. He attributed the deal to the combination of me and Bobby Kennedy with the looming shadow of president and then the economy of the United States of America standing behind him, which he stated got done the greatest set of deals where we probably save $100 billion a year for the American Medicaid Medicare system. I mean, that's definitely good news. Lutnick situated this pharmaceutical initiative within the broader industrial strategy of the Commerce Department under Trump. Quote, these aren't just huge numbers, 1.2 trillion for semiconductors, 400 billion for pharmaceuticals. They start at the Commerce Department, he stated, and maybe no one who had this job ever understood it, but nobody who had this job really understood it in a way that could work with a president who came back with fire, right? The Commerce Secretary expressed he is confident President Trump's policies will work to deliver affordable medicine made in the U.S. We have 4 years to get this done, and let me tell you, he's going to get it done, Lutnick said. All right, man, that's fantastic news. $400 billion. I mean, frankly, I thought it was shocking once COVID rolled around that we found out that most of our pharmaceuticals aren't made in the U.S. I thought, like, virtually all of it was made here in the U.S. But no, I guess not. All right, from NASA, for Valentine's Day, do you need an extra surprise to spoil your loved ones? Send your names on a journey around the moon together. Anyone you love is welcome to join the Artemis 2 mission. Sign them up here. And best part, it's free. And yeah, you could just fill this out. Your first name, your last name. You could do a PIN code, 4 to 7 digits. That way you can uniquely identify yourself because you might have a common name. And you just simply click submit, and that's that. It'll go to the next page that'll show your name on that ticket that it showed in the image. I already signed up my daughter and I for it. So, and that's what it looks like. And yeah, so they'll take your name and they'll put it on an SD card or a flash drive, which will be on the Orion spacecraft as it travels around the moon. And it will be the farthest that humans have ever traveled from Earth. And that's coming up next month. NASA HQ photo liftoff. Check out photos from NASA and SpaceX. Crew 12 launch from Launch Complex 40 at NASA Kennedy to the space station. It looks like they have images. I don't know if they have a video, but I could check out a video. I'm sure there's one over on, or right here on YouTube. But yeah, these are the astronauts that are heading up to the space station. Not the Artemis 2 launch. That hasn't happened yet. That's going to happen next month. But yeah, so they got a bunch of photos, images of the astronauts heading up to the space station after they had to cut the last trip short because one of the astronauts got sick. So they went up there like right before Thanksgiving, and they were supposed to be up there for like 6-7 months, and they had to cut the trip short because one of them got sick. So now they're sending up the next round of astronauts today. So let's take a look at the launch. Have a look.
Dragon's flight computer is now in countdown and configured for launch. Now less than 1 minute away from the launch of Crew 12.
SpaceX, go for launch.
19, 8,
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition.
Oh my God, that's
loud.
loud.
Liftoff. Go Falcon, go Dragon, and Godspeed Crew 12.
And liftoff.
And liftoff.
Bound for the International Space Station. 1.7 million pounds of thrust now propelling Falcon 9 and Crew 12.
1.7 million pounds of thrust.
Range, and all 9 Merlin vehicles have lit. We're getting good call-outs on the first stage performance and propulsion so far.
Sky rockets and flies.
T plus 30 seconds into the Crew 12 mission on board Dragon and Falcon 9. The vehicle is going to throttle down in preparation for
42
max
seconds
Q.
up.
That's the largest.
Already traveling almost 1,000 kilometers per hour. 4.3 kilometers up in the sky.
Stage 1 throttle down.
There's that call out for stage 1 throttle down. Pass through max Q in a few seconds here.
Yeah, got to get it up to speed where they can end stage 1.
We have passed through max Q.
Vehicle is supersonic.
That call out
Stage separation coming up in about a minute.
It's traveling faster than the speed of sound.
Stage 1 throttle up.
Damn right it is.
Stage 1 now throttling up.
13 kilometers up.
1 Bravo. That call out for 1 Bravo means we're in the second and final abort mode for the first stage, continuing to get good performance. The crew is now already pulling over 2 Gs.
I mean, if they had to abort right then, what the hell are they going to do? How are they going to set it back
happening in rapid succession.
Sure
First is that
for that
engine chill on the second stage and back engine, and then we'll have MECO, or main engine cutoff, where the 9 engines on the first stage will cut off.
Actually, it'll probably separate. The parachutes will
and
probably come out,
stages,
and the capsule will probably
from
just
one
land.
another. Then the single Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage will ignite, continuing to carry Crew 12
That's
to
why
orbit,
they launch it over on the East Coast.
Begins its
because
journey
it starts
back to
flying
Earth.
right over the Pacific or the Atlantic Ocean.
The 9 Merlin engines are starting to throttle down and standing by for MECO, or main engine cutoff.
Stage 1 throttle down.
There's that call out.
50 kilometers up.
In just a few seconds here, we will have MECO stage separation. Stage 1 flip
Here we go.
maneuver for the booster to make its way back to Earth. SES-1 and the start
3,
of the
2,
boost back
1.
burn.
MECO.
2 Alpha. Copy, 2
And
Alpha.
separation.
Stage separation confirmed.
Boom. There we go. Fire the rocket. There it goes.
And incredible views. We've had MECO, stage separation. You can see that booster
never
coming
gets old.
back down to Earth, and that
I can watch this every day.
that MVAC engine has ignited, which you can see clearly there on your screen. And the Dragon spacecraft
down
with
as you
Crew
can
12 is still
tell.
attached to the Falcon 9 second stage.
Just for a moment.
The next milestone that we have coming up will be the start of the Stage 1 boost back burn.
So they have to get the speed up to about 17,500 miles an hour.
Has to help
That's how fast they got to get
back to Earth.
To catch up to the space station. Yeah, see, there it goes. Now it's,
we are now 3 minutes
now
and 30 seconds
thrust.
into today's flight of Crew 12. The second stage of the Lone Merlin engine has lit and continues to burn, as you can see on your screen. Stage 2 continues to be performing well with a good trajectory, and will continue firing until we reach about 8 minutes into today's flight.
All right.
And we're getting our first view.
SpaceX, nominal trajectory.
Getting good call-outs of the trajectory as well.
They don't
as
have the
our first
G-force, but
views
they're definitely still experiencing
of the crew
G-force.
inside Freedom.
The speed's still rolling back. I don't know if that's
a few
glitching
minutes
out or what.
remaining in this burn
It should be going
before
up.
a couple of these astronauts will experience weightlessness for the first time.
Yeah, not yet. In a couple of minutes.
Igniting, and
Skip
that
ahead a
helps
little
slow
bit.
the
Yeah,
vehicle
see, now it's
down as
rocking.
it's re-enters.
Over 220 stage will continue.
Okay.
SpaceX, nominal
Up
trajectory.
a little bit. The landing burn.
Landing burn starting up on the first stage. It'll be a single center E9 engine that ignites.
Stage 1 transonic.
And helps slow the vehicle down just in time to touch down for landing at our newest landing zone 40.
By the way, this is the return booster. If you notice those numbers going down altitude, 2.2 kilometers.
We have just a couple minutes.
I'm assuming they're going to show it. There it is.
Stage 2 FTS.
And that never gets old either.
The landing burn has begun. Let's watch as Falcon 9 touches down.
Falcon 9, back home.
Stage 1 landing confirmed.
Perfect
And
execution.
what an excellent view of Falcon 9 touching down for the very first
they're hardly even
time
cheering for that
at
anymore. They used to
landing
go
zone
hog wild
40
every time that
at
landed.
Cape Canaveral Space Force Station.
Congratulations. That is so exciting to see. And on your screen, you also have a great view of the second stage continuing to
bring
fire.
up the numbers again.
That burn is going to get good performance.
Here we go. 26,700 kilometers per hour.
After this second
Stage 2
stage.
shutdown.
There we had that call out for SECO.
And there you
And
go.
engine shutdown.
And they should start feeling weightless right now.
Dragon, SpaceX, we have a nominal orbit insertion.
That is great news here.
Fantastic news. They're traveling 17,500 miles an hour. Give or take a little.
Call outs following
Launch
second
escape
stage.
system disarmed.
You heard that call out that the crew is in a nominal or as expected orbit.
That means they're
so
weightless.
again, we're going to continue to coast for a few minutes after SECO to allow those rates and motion from the burn to settle out. There are some small reaction thrusters on the upper part of the second stage that can be used to counteract.
Andre.
Oh, wow, man, that view. That is
On behalf
awesome.
of the entire Falcon team, we thank you for flying with Falcon 9.
As you
All right,
see
hold
on
on.
your screen,
Yeah, there we
the
go.
burn to suction thrusters on the upper part of the second stage that can be used to counteract any residual motion, basically making sure that we're in a stable coast before Dragon separates from Falcon, which will happen, as you see on
Right
your
now.
screen, right on time.
Right when the
Dragon now
sun's
flying
rising.
free.
Dragon separation confirmed.
And that won't be recovered, I don't believe. That'll end up crashing into the ocean. Well, it'll burn up, really.
What a great view.
If there's
with the
anything left
Crew
of it, it's
12
just going to
crew
fall in the ocean.
Onboard Dragon, Freedom, separating from Falcon 9's second stage.
Dragon Freedom, Chief Engineer, Jessica, Jack, Sophie, Andre.
All right, so that's basically it.
Невероятно хрупкой и целостной. Здесь не видно границ. Только
They're talking to the
тонкая
Russians.
линия атмосферы, которая защищает
Damn
всё
Russians.
живое. Именно этот
They
вид
hijacked the
напоминает
space
нам о
station.
главном. Мы одна
That's what he
команда
says.
на
We
одном
have your
корабле
space station now.
планете Земля.
You must meet our
Каждый
demands.
виток вокруг нашей общей голубой колыбели – это доказательство того, что возможно, когда наши нации
Stay away.
объединяются
We are
в
armed.
знании.
And And dangerous.
Сегодня наш экипаж и эта станция – это результат работы тысяч специалистов из разных стран. Мы здесь не как представители...
Okay, all right. I've had enough fun. Anyway, good time. That happened earlier this morning, of course, because now, the sun's rising as they're heading into orbit. So I don't think I got anything left. Was that all that I have? Yeah, I think that's it. That's going to do it for this episode. And cue the music. So anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It'll mean a lot to me if you subscribe, and I'll be dropping a new episode of The Swamp on Monday as I cover The Swamp Monday through Friday, and everyone in it, the politicians, the bureaucrats, and the agencies. And also, I'll post daily on X, so feel free to comment there too if you'd like. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your night and a fantastic weekend, and God bless America.